All right. I think we're good. I can't tell.
As long as you've got the blocking right.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see when it pops up on our live. There it goes. Yeah, I mean, it looks right.
All right, then.
I like how you've got the... Yeah, hello!
Good morning, everybody. Due to, some issues... Oh, here, go live. Due to some issues here, I'm running the stream today, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing, so, hey, here we go.
I'm the captain now.
Right. I have... And of course, I'm getting the error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth transition, and I gotta pop that up.
You're on. You're fine. No, it should be. You can bump that up, but we still got you. I do have it open in another tab.
So do I.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're looking fine on my end. Welcome everybody. It's Saturday, or no, it's not. Oh my God, my week. Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to the Impractical Blacksmiths. We are the Impractical Blacksmiths. You got Yamez, Alexis, and
discard. This isn't gonna work.
Asparagus. Adam from over there at Asparagus. Down in Austria.
And that's the way we became the Brady Bunch. Sorry.
I gotta say, I like the layout. It's a lot more clever than what I had.
Dealing with the photos that I already had in my stack. That's
no,
all I went with. The only two photos.
Absolutely not complaining.
So for the Impractical Blacksmith logo, I only had that one, and then the Alexis Unhinged one were the only two I had. And I was just okay. Putting it together in a hurry. I meant to set this up last night in a practice thing, and then time got away from me. And then this morning, I dawdled around laying in bed and digging through my messenger chat. And then I was like, I guess I'll get up. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, shit, I'm running late.
Well, I'll tell you, number one, I do like the layout. That's not like it's good because, I might legit change my layout to do that too. With the 4 squares rather than it being one big Yamez and 2 little you guys's. And then the number, trying to balance those lettering. I like this because also if we have a guest, they take that spot.
Right. Yeah. So if we have a guest, they can sit there, and if not, it can be the logo and today's topic or whatever. How you do that whole thing that I don't have the ability to do. That can be up over here, and it's really weird for me looking at it, and I got to point the other direction. It's like, okay, it's over here. Because it's mirrored.
I sound like I'm in a cavern. Okay. Alexis, double check your audio inputs to make sure that we don't have multiple.
Okay, hold on.
So that you only have one bar active when Discord audio is coming through.
All right. How about now?
Test. Are the Discord? Sounds dirty.
Yeah, I know, right? No, so that should be...
Mr. Hastings, is that better? It should be good. I'll keep an eye on the chat, and we'll deal with it.
All right, yeah.
If it is still an issue.
Because I've got desktop audio and desktop audio 2 muted.
So
and I can't see the chat, so here it is. And I gotta lay the Discord over the top. Okay. Woo. There we go. Okay. Well, anyways.
Yeah. Rob says, "There we go. Fixed it." Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. I was.
Two audio.
Yeah. It was audio sourcing off my desktop and the microphone. So.
Yeah. So Good morning, everybody. Slight explanation. Multiple reasons why we're doing the setup this way, and I do apologize, Alexis, for springing this on you guys like last minute yesterday, or it was yesterday. That's just sometimes what happens. But yeah, we've got a potential meeting and recording for D&D 721 today. On top of that, and that's happening in the mornings, the only time people could meet up. On top of that, I got a storm rolling through, so my connection, I'm watching my internet connection just go wah, wah. So I'm going to be very in and out sketchy today. So, like I'm watching my connection and it's yellow. So, yay. That's all right, David. So it is better to get everybody some practice in running the show every now and then anyway.
Right.
Which brings me up to, it would be cool, Alexis, and you, Adam, if you guys were to get a local to you intro or stream will start soon video. Like I've got the fish, and Alexis, you can have like the oil rigs moving or something like that, and Adam, you can have I don't know, a shark eating someone.
I've actually been trying to get close-up videos of the local kookaburras laughing.
That would be great. Something nature related to, or scenery related to your area, so that we each have like that intro. You pop it on while we're doing the audio checks and whatnot. So that the stream is active, but just something I just thought of, like when we just cut straight to live. It's like, hey, it's you guys, what up?
Right. No, and like I just didn't. I have the fishies, but I would have had to dig them up. You know what I mean? Like they're somewhere in my computer. Yeah. They're not in my list, and I was just like, we're just gonna go. We're gonna raw dog it today. So and Ben, it is winter there. But it's not winter in Darwin. I mean, Darwin doesn't have winter as we know it. So.
No, and it's not winter here. It's technically summer in the rest of Australia. It's
Oh yeah, that's right. It's winter here.
It's wet season here.
Never mind. Why did I think it was winter there?
I've got the air conditioning on here, and as I said in the chat, I got a haircut this week, and the aircon in my office blasts straight down onto my head. So because I haven't got as much hair as I normally do, my head's starting to get cold. That's the reason why I put the bandana on, because it's getting a bit. I was starting to get it cold. I was like, oh, this is a bit unusual.
Yeah.
So no, it's summer in most of Australia, and it's wet season here. It's rainy season, so.
Right. So the wet season.
Normally, I have my windows open.
The wet season's till what, like April or something like that?
Yeah, ish.
Yeah. Ben, it's always thong weather. Come on.
Wait, there's a season for thongs and a season for not wearing thongs?
Apparently. I mean, like, first I'm hearing of it.
I guess I got to start paying attention to that.
Wait, okay, hang on. This shows a cultural difference, because you guys are talking thongs as in underwear. I'm thinking footwear, and I was about to say it's always thong season in Australia.
I'm talking footwear.
What? Y'all are talking footwear?
You guys call them flip flops, and it's kind of like it's always thong season here. Like, hang on, wait.
Who calls it? That's such a stupid name. They're thongs, straight up.
No, they're flip flops. Come on now, they're chunkless.
No. Chanclas or thongs. Anything else is just sacrilege.
Whatever.
It's called thongs here. Everyone calls them thongs. Or if they're the complete rubber types, and they've got two knobs on the straps, they're called double pluggers.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
Well,
wow.
Stop chasing that squirrel.
I don't know. That squirrel. Never mind.
Yeah.
I got to go into double plugging squirrels.
Yeah. No, let's not chase that squirrel. Yeah, no.
I was gonna say, The only time I don't wear thongs is in the workshop, or when I'm like working on something, and then I wear steel cap boots. Every other time I wear thongs. And I can understand how to a lot of Americans, a lot of people around the world, that might sound strange.
I mean, if you
now you all have an image of me in a thong.
No, and I just had this mental image of you at the anvil sporting a whale tail, for the early '90s or the early 2000s look with the low-rise jeans and the thong out the back,
Oh, I hated that look.
Oh, I know, right?
No.
I hated that look.
I can pull that off fairly well, but I'm just saying. No.
I don't want to think about that.
I got in so much trouble in the early 2000s for mockeries. I pissed off, my sister's friends all the time because they followed that trend, that the big old hair poof where they'd like do their hair up and then push it forward so it was like a poof. The big alien sunglasses, like, y'all look ridiculous.
Yeah, that was hair. That was hair in the '80s. I mean, I can remember the girls all had the hair just like straight up in the front and curled to the back.
No, I'm not talking about the bangs poof.
A whole can of Aquanet to hold it in place.
The teased bangs, yeah. I'm talking about. Let me see. I'm talking about where it's like just straight combed back hair, put in a ponytail, but the ponytail pushed forward, so it's just this little poof. In just this little like smooth poof in the front, and you just want to go up, and go poof, and then the big alien sunglasses. It's like I think I said to one of my sister's friends, the bigger the sunglasses, the bigger the whore. That went over like a wet fart in church. I tell you, not just me.
Hey. Someone said certainly sitting related. Well, it was. We're talking about footwear in the workshop.
Yeah.
Thongs, sandals, flip flops. You don't wear them in the workshop. Wear boots.
Unless you're Sam.
I mean, yeah. Well, you can't. No, Sam always wears. Sam usually wears covered shoes in the workshop.
Oh, really? Maybe I don't know. I watched him on an Instagram live one time, and I thought he was wearing flip flops all his forging. Maybe it was a sanding stream.
It's Mr. Coffee wears thongs in the forge, and nobody. If you visit somebody's forges, that never tell the owner of the forge safety things in his own forge.
Right?
No. What to do in their own forge, Like you. Anyone been checking out Eric Melton podcast? No, I have not. I'm sorry, Rob.
I mean, I've been known to forge in my Jerusalem cruisers, my sandals, but I mean, I only do that if I'm forging like stainless steel because there's no scale. Anything that's going to scale, I wear shoes because like when that shit lands on top of your foot and it doesn't just bounce off and it sticks, that's the worst.
Yeah, no, I always wear boots because I don't want to drop things on my feet or step on something that's hot, that off cut or something like that.
Right.
Oh God, that just reminded me of that time
Yeah.
I was making tarp stakes to stake down we were setting up a slip and slide, and then we put a massive tarp down in the yard so that the kids didn't have to walk on the dirt and the grass. They could just stay on the tarp the whole time. And so I was making these tarp stakes just out of rebar, just one heat, just put a point on it and then just bend the other end over cold, and I was just not. I mean, I had like all of them in the forge, and I was just pulling them out, knocking them out, and throwing them on the ground. Pull it out, knock it out, throw it on the ground. And my grandson walked in barefoot and just like stepped on one of them and just wrapped his toes right over that piece of rebar. And yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bad day for him.
That sucks.
I think he was probably 4 at the time, something like that.
Reason. like I have forged and will forge, you know, in thongs or sandals or my Crocs or whatever. But like as a general rule, it's only if I'm out there doing something quick. If I'm out there for any length of time, like if I've got a shop day where I'm going to be in the garage, it's laced tight. You know, if it's not too hot, I'll wear pants and cover the, you know, not just for the hot shit that's all over the floor, but the sharp stuff, the pointy stuff, the bugs. You know, like I'll be cleaning a corner and it's like bugs, snakes, you know, critters, just in the garage because it's a freaking cornfield right there that, you know, all the critters come from the cornfield and go into the shop, and it's just black snakes every freaking day.
See, whereas I'm different. I won't enter my workshop like without boots on. It doesn't matter. Like I will not enter it without boots on, because just in case there's sharpness or you know, sharp things or hot, you know, something sticking up out of the ground or whatnot. And of course, Australia's notorious for deadly snakes. So you know, if a snake's hiding underneath something or around the corner or something, I don't want to get bitten. So not that I've had issues with snakes here or in my workshops. Just, you know, I have a general rule in the workshop. It's jeans and boots because safety first.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's just
sure.
me.
Not doing any naked forging on your OnlyFans then, huh?
Oh hell no! I've unfortunately had a situation where I've had a piece of scale burn through an item of clothing and land on a very precious piece of my anatomy, and that was bad enough.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it wasn't fun. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's the size of a Tic Tac, but anyway. But yeah, no, that's not fun. So yeah, no, naked forging is not something I ever will do. And I have a great admiration for the ancient Romans and other cultures for having done that. But yeah, no, hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone in the chat, I know everyone that's in the chat or that has sensitive parts of their anatomy, male or female, probably just went, "Oh."
You can't not. I mean, just the thought of a piece of scale or something, like, oh God. I mean, that's a bad day. I'm sorry, but that's just a bad day.
No.
A hell of a lot longer than a bad day.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks.
I usually, you know, when I do that, I usually get a roll of duct tape and just kind of tape it down around my thigh.
Get your tuck going on.
Protects it. No,
but that's how you test it.
I need a much bigger ass to tuck.
I was gonna say, but that's how you test the
What the
water
hell
on
is this
black.
conversation? Yeah, let's talk. We are talking about blacksmithing, Trail Dust.
Oh.
Or no, that's not Trail Dust talking. That's John. Yeah, John. I mean, what do you do when you forge naked?
Nothing.
And don't lie. We know you do it. Come on, John. Join the conversation. You hopped in here to yell at us. You can join us. We are talking blacksmithing. You complain every time that we don't talk enough blacksmithing. We are talking blacksmithing today. You decided to join the conversation. You come on in and you tell us how you forge naked.
I don't need duct tape. I use a Band-Aid.
Oh.
You're like me, mate. You hung like a Tic Tac, so that's just all you need.
Oh.
See, I expected him to have enough body hair to protect it. You know, the body hair just keeps it out. You know?
His mic is muted. Me.
You
probably
you right click his name and click unmute.
I gotta.
Unclick the
All
mute.
right, yeah. I've got non-video participants hidden, so hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah, we're a family show. But it's if you've got children under the age of 10 watching this, and
God damn it.
then shame on you. And once they hit over 10 and teenage years, they're generally a little bit more savvy.
There it is.
Is it working now?
Can you hear me?
I don't know.
Oh God, yes. Now I remember why I'm muted.
Oh, gee, thanks, mate. Screw you.
Ay.
Stick it in your nose.
Anyway.
And I will not be sending you a kangaroo, right? You can't get. Put it this way: most stuff shipped from Australia to the US go through California, and California has an import ban on roo products.
John, are you muted yourself, or is that me?
John muted himself.
Okay.
Yeah, he's muting himself when he's not talking.
I got you. I was just like, because I look over here and the microphone thing had the slash through it, and I'm like, what the fuck? I thought I fixed that. All right, that makes sense.
Well, yes. So let's do what we normally do.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do what we normally do, and let's we're not quite at the start, but let's start with how was your fortnight?
Oh shit! No, we're almost at the end.
Yeah. So that's all right though. See, because I'm hosting, we can do this show for 6 fucking hours if we want.
Here you go, Boo.
So yeah, because you're not hosting today, you can start. How was your fortnight?
My fortnight. Okay, so work has been picking up, or work had seemingly been picking up. We had a really, really good week after last time's show. I think I mentioned last show was that we had a bunch of jobs lined up. Well, we finished one of them, and that pretty much filled that week almost. It wasn't quite a full 40 hours, but any port in a storm, when I think I had like 24 hours. Any port in the storm when your average for the quarter is 10 hours, but yeah, and just we've got these jobs lined up, but they each have an element that is kind of a pain in the ass to deal with the village and the utility companies. We've got to deal with the designers, the electric company, their designers for the specialty CT cabinets and whatnot, and it's like where we were hoping to be starting this stuff this past Monday, nothing. So it's like, yeah, last week I think I struggled to get over 10 hours, and I'm like, yeah. So it was like, yeah, shit. But those jobs are still in the pipelines. It's literally like any day kind of thing. We did get held up with weather for a bunch of small jobs last week. I tell you, rainy season sucks. I don't know why people want outside shit done during the rainy season. But yeah, still holding off. Holding off. For those who follow the other stuff that I do, the D&D 721 stuff, this upcoming episode that I still have to finish editing, this release for Wednesday, is my sister-in-law's one shot. It's what she, her first time running a game, and we had a freaking blast with it. We're supposed to do the finale of it at some point today or this week. It was gonna be today, but there's issues. Yeah, if you do listen to the podcast, they're getting fun. And that's pretty much my week. It's sitting here at the computer editing. If there's work to do, going out in the field and doing work. So, same old.
Fair enough. Well, for me, I'll go next. It's also here it's rainy season. It's far too wet for me to actually do anything at the moment. I've supposed to be mowing the lawn, but unfortunately my mower has broken down again, and I'm waiting for a part to come from the US so I can fix it. So hopefully that arrives by my next week off. Had a little bit of a health scare this week on Saturday, so yesterday for me. My wife came home from her regular day job and had chest pains in the left of her left side that radiated from under her ribs all the way over to her scapula in her back. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, and I recommend everyone looks into this because we're all, well, most of us are men, and their symptoms for heart attack in men is different for symptoms in women. And one of the symptoms in women is a radiating pain, like from the chest. That's common in both sexes. But she had a couple of other symptoms that signal that might have been a heart attack. Now she's only 29, so it's rare for someone that her age and health level and all that type of thing to have a heart attack. But it was one of those things that was like, okay, no, I'm not risking this, because it's one of those people ignore symptoms like that and then they end up dropping dead, and I wasn't risking that. So it was I packed her up in the car, drove half an hour to the local emergency, for half an hour-ish, 45 minutes to emergency care, and had it checked over by the doctors. Doctors basically backed up by the time we got there and actually got in to see the doctors. It was they did an ECG and all that type of thing, and after questions and whatnot, and they basically said, look, it's rare that someone your age is going to have a heart attack. If the symptoms come back in the next 24 to 48 hours, go to emergency. But it could just be related to stress or something like that. So, like I said, by the time we got in there, those symptoms had gone away and the pain had gone away. So, but still, it's one of the things that I wasn't willing to risk it. And just reminded every one of you, better safe than sorry. And yeah, so we went in, got that checked, walked out, came home. That was probably the most exciting part of my week. Other than that, because it's been raining, I've done a whole heap of work on the book. I'm currently working on a power hammer section, which has nearly 10,000 words in it. I'm nearly through the first pass of editing on the book, which means that I can go and do the second pass, which is putting everything together and rearranging it, make sure it's all in the positions I want it to do, and making sure all the image numbers and everything line up and they're in sequential order and that type of thing. But and that's mainly because I haven't been able to do anything. I can't go out. I can't really go out into the yard. I can't work on the workshop and get that done because everything is boggy and soggy at the moment. Even like just before the last show, I put a whole heap of dirt in my driveway to fix a few of the potholes that inevitably develop over the wet season. And we did the next day. It's been basically raining at least 5 hours a day for the last 2 weeks, and so that all that dirt that I put into those holes has turned to slop, and it's just muddy, horrible crap. So I can't even go out and fix my driveway because it's just slop at the soup. So it's one of those things that's just you've got to wait until it starts to dry out a little bit. I've had the last day. Today we only had a little bit of rain. We had probably about 2 hours of drizzle as opposed to the 5 hours of decent rain. So as long as it dries out a little bit more, I'll be able to get back into doing stuff. But that's pretty much the extent of my fortnight and the excitement I've had. Alexis, how was your fortnight?
Yeah, my fortnight was just made better because Yamez called it a fortnight. Finally.
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm just going to let it slide because you're only going to remember it.
That I was going to mention that rain just sounds amazing. I mean, it reminds me of when I was in Germany. It rained like 300 days a year when I was in Germany, just a drizzle. I mean, every now and then there was a hard rain, but mostly it was just a drizzle every day, day in, day out. I mean, like, and so we used to joke about when the sun came out, you had to mark it off on your ration card because we had ration cards for gas, cigarettes, and alcohol. And so we used to joke about, when the sun came out, mark it off on your ration card. And of course, the rest of my life living out here in mostly in West Texas, it's like, every now and then it's going to rain 4 inches in half an hour. It comes down now and it's done, but it doesn't rain very much out here where we're at. So I do enjoy the rain on occasion, especially a slow light rain. The mud, not so much. You can keep your mud down there. I don't want that. But yeah, my 2 weeks has been fairly busy. This week, not so much. I didn't do shit. I mean, I worked like 3 days and 50 hours, whatever. Week before last, though, holy crap! I wound up doing 48 straight on 2 different rigs. Day shift, night shift, go to the other rig, do night shift, day shift. I mean, like, it was a continuous thing. I wound up with like 100 hours, and that was pretty good. That really helped in my savings goals, and that is like other than like going through my stuff and kind of thinning out what I have, because I've lived in this room for 11 years. Well, this room and then 2 shacks down that was the same room, and when they moved us all out of shack 2 so they could do some repairs to it, some reconstruction, because a leak fucked up the floor. So when shack 4 came in, they moved everybody from shack 2 to shack 4, and so I've been in the same room for 11 years, and this is where I spend most of my time. So this is where I accumulate everything. And it gets to a point where I'm walking through here and everything is nice and neatly put away, but it's just like there is stuff just packed into every little cubby hole, every nook and cranny, and then underneath the sink is chock full of like partially used cleaning supplies that have been there for 8 years, and just like, and I started going through my stuff going, I am never actually going to do anything with this. I'm keeping it because it's one of those things that's like, well, just in case, or someday I might, or what if I need? No, I mean, like, I just kind of got tired of it, and I went through and I pulled out probably 75 pounds of clothing that I'm just never going to wear. And it's like, well, what am I going to do with it? I don't know. I'm never going to wear it. So that's all in like trash bags in the back seat of my pickup. And then, like I said, underneath the sink, I filled up a 42-gallon trash can, like the Rubbermaid gray trash cans. I filled one of those up with just crap that was in here that I'm never going to use and I don't need, and is just basically in here taking up space. And it was so much stuff I almost couldn't carry it to the dumpster. I almost had to bribe somebody else to do it, but I got it there. I only had to take 2 breaks on my way to the dumpster. But yeah, that's been my 2 weeks. Haven't really done anything other than sit here, play some games. Wait, I do have something really cool that happened. So 2 days ago, I was sitting here and I'm just browsing through Amazon, looking at the prices of iPhone 15 Pro Max 1 terabyte, right? And I'm looking at them. My daughter texts me and she's like, "Would you answer your phone already? Mom's been trying to call you for like days." And I was like, "What?" So I went to call her, and it just said it immediately just went, the call time 00 just started flashing, and it said server unavailable. I'm like, what? So I tried to call my daughter, same thing. And anyway, I couldn't make a call out, and then every time somebody would call in, it would just go straight to voicemail. And I didn't realize this, and it had been like that for 4 or 5 days. It had been at least 5 days since I had received a phone call, even a spam call, you know. I looked at my call history, and it's like I hadn't received a phone call all week. I was like, "Ooh, wonder how long this has been off." And I couldn't figure it out, so I wound up shutting off my PC and my headphone. I shut everything off and reset my phone, because I have a phone link where my phone is connected to my PC. So when somebody messages me or whatever and I'm on the PC, I can just click on it and type a response, and you know, I don't have to like grab my phone and unlock it and go through all that. And especially since, you know, my Motorola phone is so laggy and slow, if the screen is off, it's going to take me a solid 2 minutes to get into a message and be able to respond to one. And it's such a pain in the ass. Well, anyways, my daughter's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, after I called her back, and I was like, "Well, you know, ironically, I was looking at new iPhones when you texted me, and you know, and then I had to go through all this rigmarole." And we chatted for a bit, and then I was like, "Screw it, I'm tired of it. I'm buying an iPhone." And so I just went into Amazon and found one that was unlocked, no carrier or whatever. It was an Amazon refurb. It's like $900, which is, you know, half as much as they were 6 months ago when I was looking at them before. Bought one, and it showed up in 22 hours, like less than a day it was delivered, and I was like, damn. And so yesterday I spent, was it yesterday? What's today? Sunday, Saturday, Friday? I spent all day Friday like reinstalling all my stuff on the iPhone, re-downloading it, signing into all my stuff, and just trying to get everything organized. And Verizon makes it so difficult to port your number. There's all these steps they want you to make. They make it difficult to unlock your phone, even though, like, I paid cash for the phone. It's still carrier locked, and you can't unlock it without like calling them, spending 2 hours on hold, and getting shuffled from person to person. You know, they intentionally make it to where you say, "Screw it, it's not worth the effort. I'll just stick with Verizon." And similarly, they make it difficult to port my number. So I was just like, all right, screw this. I'm just going to get a new number. So I hooked my phone up to Mint Mobile. I got 3 months of service for like $80, which is less than what I pay per month for my Verizon phone. The coverage obviously isn't as good. I'm not going to have service out in the middle of nowhere on location, but that's okay because I'll just read a book. So yeah, so I got a new iPhone 15 Pro Max, 1 terabyte. You know, considering my Android phone here was 128 gig, and it was always screaming at me that I'm out of room and I'm out of. I couldn't download any more apps because there's no more room on the phone, and it wasn't even like photos because my photos are stored on a SD card. And but yeah, just the physical memory of the phone from the apps that I have, there wasn't any room left. I couldn't even edit a video on my phone because there wasn't enough room to store the edited version and the original, and it was such a pain in the ass. So anyway, so I got a 1 terabyte phone now, and I'll be damned if I'm going to run out of room on that for 10 years. And you know, according to my daughter, this phone won't do the planned obsolescence thing in such a obvious way as the Android did, because the Android was smooth and perfect the day I bought it, and then literally, I mean, like brand new, I bought it, and then 2 days later it had updated the Android operating system 4 times to get to because it doesn't go from this one to the latest one. It does it incrementally. It goes from like 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, you know, over the course of 2 days. I don't remember what the operating system number is, but yeah, I mean, by the time it got to the current updating operating system, everything was laggy, and like letters would when I'm typing, a letter would stick and it would long press, so instead of like an I, it inserts a 3 into my text message, and I got to go back and fix it. And like literally 2 days after I bought the phone, it was already as bad as the phone I was replacing. And at that moment, I said, "This is the last Android phone I'm ever going to buy. I'm not freaking doing this again." And yep. So iPhone 15, and according to other people that use iPhones, it's not going to do what these other ones have done. So fingers crossed, this one lasts me for a while. And I'm not a person that breaks phones almost ever. I think in the last 10 years I've broken one phone. And that's because it was in my shirt pocket, and I was on the bed of my truck, and I leaned over to pick something up. It slid out, and it hit right on the corner, and it didn't just get the screen. It also got the digitizer and all that. And at that point, it really wasn't worth buying a new screen digitizer at the time. But anyways, that was my 2 weeks, and I'm hosting the show in a pinch because I've got good internet, and I'm watching the stream on my iPhone, and I'm not gloating or anything. So that was my 2 weeks. Yeah.
I've only ever like broken a phone like this one's got a crack in it, but it's not the phone, it's the safety screen. Like I've got the tempered glass protector because accidents do happen. I've never broken a phone, but I have had a phone of mine broken. And I've told you guys this story a while back. At least Alexis and Adam know of it, I think. It was T-Mobile in Florida. I was living with some roommates. They had a kid, and I had just gotten back from the T-Mobile store to switch from switch to a T-Mobile phone from the Metro PCS thing that I had in Key West, and I had just gotten back and set it up. I hadn't even had time to put on the screen or a case, and I set it on the kitchen counter, and this little... Okay, I'm going to say this, and I want nobody to take offense because I feel that I have earned the right to say this about this kid. This little autistic fuck came over and literally saw it, looked at it, took his arm, and just swammed it right across the freaking dining room, which was all tile floor, and it shattered it. And I yelled at him, and somehow it was my fault. So, fuck roommates, and fuck kids that do that stuff, and the parents that let them do it. So, I apologize to anybody who would take offense to that, but if you take offense to that, then that means that your kid does that, and you should give them the old no sometimes. But that's not what the point of the story is. It was like, what? Yeah, and T-Mobile wouldn't replace the phone because it was non-accidental damage. But it's as for the obsolescence thing, it's really good to hear that companies are breaking away, even if it's Apple. I'm not a big Apple fan. Even if it's Apple leading the charge on really anything, because they haven't led the charge on anything in years.
Right, and I mean, like, to be fair, there eventually there will be like updates and new features added and this, that, and the other, down the line, and those features are going to be compatible with like apps that come out. And then, because those features aren't compatible with my phone, those apps won't work, they won't be compatible because I've got an older device that's, 6, 7, 8 years old. But what it's not going to do is get that laggy, slow, like, like this is an old piece of shit feeling.
Obsolescence.
Yeah. That Android does.
There's absolutely no way to build a phone that will last the increase in technology over the next 5 to 10 years, hell, the next 2 years.
Right, but intentionally making it slow so that that you want to buy a new phone is bullshit.
There have been so many lawsuits about that over the past 10 years. That they are taking it seriously and phasing it out is a good thing. I will concede that is a good thing that Apple is doing. The next thing that they need to do is make it so that any repairs or upgrades, hardware upgrades that can be done to a phone are allowed to be done to their phones. Like you can take just like you can take a PC, you can take and you can upgrade and modify and improve it. Same thing with Android phones, although it's a little bit more technical because it's, while like a PC, it is micro. Apple, you can't even open an Apple computer without pissing somebody off or inviting some sort of an issue, to the point that you have to have like specified Apple technicians work on it. And it's like, I mean, get rid of that, and then Apple would be like where people can work on their own stuff, and Apple would be, I would support Apple as a company then, you know. But they are taking steps in the right direction, especially with phasing out planned obsolescence, you know, programmed obsolescence. Rob, very well put.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. Yeah, it's and that's what it seems like they're doing, because I know I don't look it, but I do follow tech news, and I think Apple got the hint, and I think they got the hint when they switched from their Lightning cable to USB-C or USB-C charging, you know, to allow a multitude of chargers rather than having to sell a $70 charging cable that only fits that phone.
Yeah, I will say it is really nice that I just like when this one's fully charged, I just unplug it, put it in that one, and I got to keep this one here for at least another month while my phone number gets changed and everybody's stuff. I don't want my dispatcher to accidentally send a dispatch to this number that no longer works, and then I'm just sitting here and people be like, "Where's Alexis at? She was supposed to be here like an hour ago."
Right.
And I'm just sitting here playing Minecraft like do 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 do. Because occasionally, like you know, me and my swamper, we both get a dispatch, and occasionally one of us won't get the dispatch, and so if he sent it to me and it didn't go through to Ryan, that, you know, neither one of us would know we had a dispatch. So I'm keeping this one until I make sure that no more text or calls are coming through it, and then I'll probably shut it off when my billing cycle's over in March. Just because, I mean, like, it's $120 a month, and I'm not really using it anymore except for, you know, that when a text message comes through from somebody that doesn't have my number.
I've been an Android user since I got my first phone. I mean, hell, when I was a kid, I don't know if any of you guys remember Microsoft Zune. Zune, the music player from back in the day. Back when, what was it, the iPod first came out?
Yeah.
Like iPod and iPod Shuffle was the next one, where, you know, all that stuff where, like, it had a shuffle button, I guess. But, like, I don't know, I was 16 at the time, 15, I don't know. I watched my uncle's place, and for payment, I got to, you know, like, because he's all Apple, you know, he when I was sitting down to watch his place, he's like, and here's how you use the app, the iPod. He's got hooked up to this freaking $50,000 sound system. It was like, you could play any of these songs, and I'm like, cool. You know, and he was trying to sell me the whole Apple thing, and afterwards he's like, which one do you want? Like, I'll get you an Apple iPod, you know. And it's like, I knew he was going to do it, so I had looked up, like, what you could do with it, what you couldn't do with it, and like the alternatives. And it's like, I already at the time had a collection of probably 10,000 songs. I've been collecting songs for decades on my computer, and then I looked into Apple, and you could not transfer at the time from your computer to your iPod those songs that you already had. You had to rebuy them through the Apple Store in order to get that little file tag to send them over. And I'm like, well, the Zune, I can just put my music on it, and it's got video, you know. So I had him get me a Zune, and he was all butthurt, like, oh, you gotta go with Apple. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It won't let me do what I want.
Right. And I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, Apple's the best. I mean, I've never had one. I've had a moto for so long that, I mean, like this, literally, I went from a flip phone to a BlackBerry to a moto, and I've had a moto ever since. Like that's a Motorola. The latest Motorola is all I've ever had, and what I'm gonna miss is this feature right here. Like that is so nice, and then my phone is slow, so it takes a hot minute. You know, I just shake it to turn the camera on. So yeah, I mean, like I miss those things where you can just move your phone a certain way and it activates certain things. And obviously, it's going to take me a while to get used to how to navigate this new operating system. Currently I don't like it because, you know, it's different, and I don't like different. You know how it goes. I think everybody's that way. When you're kind of forced to switch, you're just like, I don't like this. I don't want this. And I'm gonna have to get used to it though, because like literally when I got that planned out obsolescence on a brand new phone, I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I'm not doing it. Now, had I chosen a Samsung or something like that, maybe that wouldn't have happened. I don't know. I just know for the last couple phones, my last couple like I said, I've always had a Motorola. That's what's happened, and I'm just like, nope, I'm out. Anyways, yeah. So what's new? What John wants to know, what's new in the world of blacksmithing? Forging in thongs, apparently. Yeah, like Ben pointed out.
Hang on, have I frozen? I'm not sure. No, no, I know what's happened. Okay. Alright. When it comes to what's new in the world of smithing, there was actually a recent discovery in Northern Europe regarding blacksmithing. Unfortunately, I don't have the information on hand, but they did discover there was I think it was a new ancient settlement that had been lost. Not sure if it was due to war or battle or whatnot, which actually had a complete, fairly sure it had like a complete iron working section where they had everything from the iron smelter all the way through the actual blacksmith shops, all located in one area. And it was interesting in this context of, you know, this town or this settlement must have been a fairly central and bustling location for them to have all these processes in one spot. Like I said, I don't have the I'm not across the information right at hand. I came across it in passing the other day, but it was like, oh, that's rather interesting, and it apparently is one of the earliest Northern European settlements with a complete iron manufacturing area that they've found, but they don't have any real records on this particular settlement. There is no reference in any sort of histories about this settlement or its name, or, you know, what it was to the community. So it's a good possibility that the whole, you know, the whole region could have been completely wiped out due to battles or war or famine or disease or whatnot. But it's only a very early days. They haven't done very much excavation on it, but yeah, there has been some, which was really, really, really interesting initially. And I kind of wish I had bookmarked it and so I could go back and keep an eye on it. But unfortunately, it was one of the things that I don't know if this happens to many of you, but sometimes you come across something and you go, oh, that was really interesting, and you back out of it, but it completely gets out of it, so you don't have any, and it's like you try and go back and find the story again, and it's just disappeared. And it's like, bugger, you just can't find it again. That's really annoying. So that's what happened to me. Unfortunately, I've lost all access to reference of it. So that's the reason why I said I'm not across at the moment. Otherwise, I would brought it up tonight and said, hey, this is interesting.
Wow, that was a rather long dissertation on something you couldn't find the information on.
Well, I do retain some information. I'm not completely daft.
Well, yeah. That's debatable, Adam. That's debatable, but.
Oh. In your nose, rubber hose.
gosh,
See, okay, going back to the Apple versus Android thing, I don't get it. Right, I really don't. My wife uses Apple. I use Android. I use Android because I find Android easy to use. That's it. Right, I find Apple is unintuitive for me and the way my brain works. My wife swears by Apple. She prefers it. She thinks it's intuitive. But I don't have the whole rivalry, right? Just don't get it. It's two different phone systems. Well, it doesn't make sense.
I can actually explain this because I have dug into it. Same thing, like I've dug into the Ford versus Chevy and everything like that.
Tribalism?
That is definitely tribalism. I know the Ford and Chevy is.
It is a major, tribalism is a major factor. Because when you look at it at its face, all right, and this can go the same with Ford and Chevy, but specifically talking about Apple versus Android phones. I mean, hell, you can even go, we'll call it Android phones. In the grand scheme of things, do they, for the layman, for the everyday user who isn't a super user or even a more advanced user, does it allow you to make calls? Does it allow you to text? Can you go on your apps and go online? If the answer is yes to that, can you watch videos? If the answer is yes to that, then going any deeper doesn't matter, and it's like Nike versus Adidas or Ford versus Chevy. You pick the one that you want, okay? But when you get into the under the hood stuff, okay, Android for many years has technologically been, especially like Samsung and LG, have been years ahead of Apple. It has been confirmed what Apple does is they base it, technology that others have worked on and created and set for their flagships as like new technology. Apple will wait till the bugs are kinked out of it, and then they'll add it to their things and advertise it as new technology. And that was the art. It's like, well, they're using the quad core Dragon chip, blah 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 blah. It's like Android's had that exact chipset for 6 years now, and Apple is toting it as brand new technology. So it's like the argument really started when you look under the hood of the way the companies do things. But that extra 136 blah blah blahs of power, or efficiency, under the hood means jack shit to the people using it, and then it comes down to UI, like you said, what's intuitive for you, left brain, right brain thinking, blah, all that stuff. But then you bring that entire argument that has actual points to each side of the argument, and you put it online, and you get tribalism, you get insult slinging, you get the whole issue is muddied with uninformed people talking about things that they only feel, they don't actually know anything about. So that same thing, I don't know jack about engines and motors and torque pressure and sensors and whatnot. I just know that every Ford that I've ever driven has had major issues. Do I know why? No. My GMC has issues. GMC is basically Chevy. There's the rain. It's basically, the arguments are because of tribalism, but they started because of under the hood stuff. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, so my daughter and my mom. I mean, everybody in my family's got an iPhone, and they're all like, why don't you get one? Why don't you get one? And I'm like, because I really like the way my Android is. I just like it, and a lot of it is because I'm used to it. You know what I mean? Like, I know all of the ins and outs, and swipe this way, swipe that way, shake this way. All of that stuff is just intuitive to me, and it's muscle memory. You know what I mean? Like, the way I manipulate my phone is muscle memory. I don't have to think about it. And now that I've switched, there is no muscle memory, because now I don't scroll up and down for my apps. I got to scroll side to side, which is weird. I don't scroll down through my emojis. I scroll side to side, which is weird. because that's not the way I've been doing it. And so it's going to take me a minute to get this into muscle memory. And for me, I think it's a lot like driving my truck. I've been driving the same truck, and in my spare is identical. They're two that are identical. They're mostly, anyways. But the layout inside is the same. Well, in all of the other 8, the winch hand they're made by a different company. They're made by Camex instead of Omega, and so the winch handles and the buttons and all that are in a different location. There's a whole different layout. So when I'm driving my truck, I can be watching outside, steering, and working all of my switches and handles without looking at them. I know I know where everything is, and I can just go right to it without looking. And it's all muscle memory, intuitive, and it makes me smooth and concise. When I get in, if I have to drive one of the white ones, I'm hosed, because I have to sit there and I have to look at the control box and go, this one. And then the other problem I have is the number 1 and the number 2 winch handles are reversed. So I'm always grabbing the wrong damn winch and running the wrong winch. And it's like, whoop, 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 that's the wrong one, which if I'm running poles, which I almost never do, that can be problematic, because the number 2 winch brings the poles up and over, and if I'm, and then the number 1 winch brings the line up and down. And so if I run the number 2 winch, I can, and once you get over center, they fall over. So I got to be careful with that. That could be a big deal. Anyway, that's why I never drive the white ones, because it's a mess. The 2 black trucks, I can run them without even thinking about it. And that's not always. I mean, those are the only two Omegas that exist. So I mean, like when they go to auction or whatever, I got to start all over and learn how to run a Camex, and that's going to be hard, but I'll be able to do it. I mean, just like I'll be able to figure out this phone, I'll figure out how to drive a different truck. Just like when Adam comes over here, he's going to have to learn how to drive left-hand drive, and he's going to want to. It takes a minute,
Yeah, Andy's going to have to learn the banana measurement system instead of the stupid scented millimeter things that they, whatever it's called, the metrics system.
It's bald eagles per football field, isn't it? Anyway, well, see, and the funny thing is,
the banana standard, damn it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, and people give us shit about it, but this kind of does relate to blacksmithing, and it relates to blacksmithing in things that we've all seen. We get and Rob, not picking on you here, but it's kind of a thing where people have their influences, like the Brazils and stuff like that, and you're not one of these, and I'm absolutely thankful for that. But people get stuck in that tribalism of who is better, not taking into account, who their mentors or who their inspirations is better, not taking into account that they're all fantastic smiths. People also get caught up on the hype train of what was it? For example, the Hoffy hammer. People get on the hype train, and that's the only way to do things, or they get caught up on unfounded or unproven statements. Like you've got to preheat your anvil. This type of tribalism extends to many different aspects,
everything,
and just as ridiculous aspects.
Well,
and talking about it can,
but
it's not going to convert everyone because of the lowest common denominator. But it will open some people's minds.
I've actually had a theory on the whole tribalism thing, and the phenomenon that we've seen tribalism growing fiercer and fiercer in different aspects of, whether it be hobbies and culture versus political versus everything, the tribalism idea, and I think as the world grew smaller, okay, and we had access, 24/7 access to almost everybody on the planet, almost. I know that there's some tribes that don't have internet, but still, as humanity's differences got found, so to speak, and like we grew as a world now connected, that tribalism, seeing differences, seeing other people's way of doing things, that tribalism just got kind of fiercer, so to speak. It's like a weird psychological thing of like, you know, if you can hold on to that tribalism, you can hold on to your identity, and that drips down into everything, like the Brazil nuts, like rounding hammers are the one true hammer. How dare you forsake thee by using a crosspeen? You know, Ford. I will drive Ford till the day I die. How dare you put a Chevy in my parking spot? You know, shit like that. Apple over. You pick these. That might be the call. You pick these like ridiculous hills to die on. You know, because the only other psychological option is losing your identity to the greater whole, you know, of humanity, which isn't inherently a bad thing either way. It's just a thing. You know, tribalism isn't necessarily bad. It's just a thing. You know, and that's just my opinion on it.
I think it starts out as people wanting having a sense of community, like, oh, I'm with these people over here, and then it over time it morphs into we're against these people over there. You know, it's not like I'm in this group. It's like I'm in this group and I'm against that group, or things like that. And for some reason, that gives people like a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, and a sense of importance, maybe. I don't know. And you know, I mean, like at this point, I'm just like, whatever. I'm just gonna be me and do what I got to do. So
yeah, it's really the thing. Like just for the record, Rob, I drive a GMC and I drive Fords used to drive Fords for work. Now I'm driving a Ram. Anyway, like you say, you know what? You see all these tribes, be you, fit in. You know, you can fit into multiple tribes. You know, be you, be true to yourself, and if people don't like that, don't need that negativity in life. Let them do their thing. You do your thing with your friends. You know,
and it could be a wider sense of pride as well. I mean, there's a perfect example that I just put in the chat of, you know, Australia is one of the few countries that drive on the left. There's only a handful of countries in the world that drive on the left. Most drive on the right, like the US. On the inverse of that, the US is one of the few countries in the world that still uses the imperial system as the standard system of measurement, you know, where most of the world uses metric. It's one of those things of, you know, I'm an Australian, I'll say, you know, drive on the left until, you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. We drive on the correct side. Now, funnily enough, I've actually gone into the history of that, and it all comes to, it actually all comes down to carriages, the old horse and carriage, you know, which also goes back to, for Australia, it goes back to naval thing, because you know, you dock on the left side. The left side was port, and therefore carriages were built that you would disembark on the left. Thus, the Australians drive on the left so that the passenger side is closer to the side, the footpath, the sidewalk, where you disembark. The same thing is true in the US, where US had their carriages, and most of their train carriages and stuff like that would have the disembarking on the right. So your carriage, the cars ended up being built to be driven on the right-hand side of the road, so that the passenger side was on the right, so that your disembarking passengers would get off onto the pavement rather than getting off into mud. So it goes back hundreds of years. It's not just, oh yeah, we decided to drive on the left or decided to drive on the right. It comes back to, you know, horse and carriage, and so, you know, these are things that have been set for a long time, and it's just the way things are done. And people, you know, society in general doesn't like change. So once you get used to something, that's kind of like, hang on, you know, change is uncomfortable and scary. And so, yeah, and that's the reason why it's done that way. I mean, Australia is one of the youngest nations in the world, and we do. There is that British influence as well, but it's primarily because of our strong the early Australia's strong link to naval traditions. So yeah. I mean, a perfect example of Australia's strongly linked to naval traditions is in our language. Everyone knows that Australians use the word mate, and mate is a naval is a naval term. It first mate, second mate. It is officers after the captain. And so, to be someone's mate is to be someone's right hand man, or they're very close. Someone you work close with. So it became, again, due to Australia's link to naval traditions and stuff like that, it became part of Australian vernacular. So things like that sneak in. You're never going to change the way Australians speak, so that's the way it is.
Hey, I was going to say, and I just absolutely love the phrasing, she'd be right, mate. I don't know why I heard Jason Ellis say that one time, telling the story about like his dad running from the cops with his buddies, and he was in the back seat, and they lost the right front wheel, and they're still running from the cops, and Jason Ellis's dad leans out the window, and the guy driving's like how's it look, and he's like, she'll be right, mate. and they're still running from the cops. It was a great story, and ever since then I'm just like, I love that saying now.
and Clara, no, we don't use miles per gallon. We use liters per kilometer.
Liters per 100 kilometers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a mouthful.
I never like my entire time in Europe, clicks is easy to get to deal with. Liters is easy to deal with. Grams, kilograms. Liters per 100 kilometers, I cannot wrap my head around. It just does not make sense to me in any way, shape, form, or fashion, and I have to convert it to miles per gallon in order for me to accurately understand the fuel efficiency. Do you know what I mean? I 2 years in Europe, and I never could look at liters per 100 kilometers and instantly know how efficient that is or is not.
Yeah.
I'm a metric dude through and through, and I don't I can work out liters per 100 kilometers, but it's kind of like, it's more, it works out better in my head if I do kilometers per tank.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I could do kilometers per tank of gas.
Yeah. And so, for example, my current ute, I get about 550 kilometers to 50 liters.
Yeah.
Which means I get it's about 1.1 kilometer per liter. So that's how it kind of roughly equates in my head. So and that's just easier for me to keep a track of. They do use liters per 100 kilometers in car advertisements and stuff like that, but it really works out. Liters per tank is better.
Yeah, so like the average in the States, like what size fuel tank goes into a vehicle when it's manufactured, is basically based around the vehicle should go about 300 miles on a tank of fuel, and that's like, I think every pickup I've ever owned, that's right about where they're at. It's about 300 miles to a tank of fuel, which is what, 450, 480 kilometers, something like that. And then don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously there's some variance in vehicles. Like my daughter's car, when I drove to North Carolina and picked up Yamez, and then we went to Quad State or whatever, I was getting almost 500 miles to a tank of fuel. I mean, that was pretty great. But that car got like 32 miles to the gallon. I mean, like you can only put so small of a tank in a car. And so yeah, and so like I literally would just like when I fill up, I hit the little reset button, and and then I get like, it's hard to explain. Yeah, I mean, because like in my big trucks, the fuel gauge is iffy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I know how many trips I can make to Pecos and back before I need to put fuel in. I know, like my spare truck, it just shows it's on a quarter of a tank all the time until it gets to a quarter of a tank, and then it goes to and the red light comes on. But in mine, it works. It goes to full, and then within 20 miles, it's at a half a tank. But I mean, like that truck holds 300 gallons of fuel. I mean, it didn't use a half a tank in 20 miles. That's just what happens. And then that last half a tank will last for days. It's weird. But you know, it is what it is. And hi, Clara. I kept meaning to get a word in edgewise and I couldn't. And yeah, so I hope you're doing well. Anyways, yeah.
Yes, petrol, Rob. I agree. Petrol. It's petrol.
Petrol.
Look, once upon a time, I believe there was actually a chemical difference between petroleum and gasoline, and then it just now it's just a naming nomenclature difference between the two. Petroleum is gasoline. Gasoline is petroleum.
Technically speaking, petroleum is what comes out of the ground. Petroleum is crude oil. So petroleum contains the asphalt, the plastics, the diesel, the gasoline. Petroleum contains all of the esters of hydrocarbons. Gasoline is a select group of those hydrocarbons that distills inside of a certain temperature range. Petrol, it's just I don't know why you guys use the blanket term for petroleum as gasoline, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's silly.
I mean, it's just like there are 257 chemical compounds in petroleum, and
I think
gasoline is a group of like 15.
Yeah, but I think there's also again, it's one of those language things where, for example, we use petrol as distinct to gas. Because we do have vehicles here in Australia that run on LPG, liquid or LNG,
LNG,
liquid petroleum or liquid natural gas. So we actually have, it used to be a lot more widespread, but not as widespread anymore. We would actually have gas Bowsers or gas pumps where you would fill up your vehicle with LNG or LPG gas. So that was gas. Then you would have diesel and you would have petrol, as opposed to gas, diesel, and gas. You know,
that's
fill up with
gas.
gas.
It's natural gas, diesel, and gas. Gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But if Australians shorten everything, so rather than saying natural gas, diesel, and gas, we just go go gas, diesel, and petrol. You've got three distinct names for three distinct things, as opposed to natural gas, diesel, and gas. It like I said, it's just that is probably more of a quirk of language than anything.
And see, and then when you're like me, when you're in a trucking industry, you kind of get away from calling it gas. It doesn't matter what fuel source it is. It's fuel. So like I gotta go hit the truck stop and fuel up. I gotta go top off the fuel tank in my pickup. So for me, because some people will get all bent out of shape when you say I got to go gas up or something like that, and you're driving a diesel. They're like, it's not gas, it's diesel. Anyways, early on in my career, I had enough of that I just kind of switched to saying fuel, and it just kind of carries over because it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you're operating, topping off the fuel or fueling up or whatever is always going to be accurate. So whether that's an LNG vehicle or a pickup that's been converted to propane or gasoline, diesel, methanol, whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm dumping my moonshine into the gas tank, I'm still fueling up. I'll never forget the first time I filled up my lawnmower with moonshine and ran it. I was like, oh, that's badass, and the exhaust smelled so good. But not the stuff that you drink, the stuff that comes off the first, the four shots, the stuff that you can't drink, you know? Yeah, I used to run that in my lawnmower and stuff like that. It was great. I still got a gallon of that I got to get rid of. I guess I'll dump it in my windshield washer tank. The four shots, not the drinkable stuff, but the stuff I use for, I mean, it's like literally been sitting in there underneath the microwave for 5 or 6 years, and every once in a while I put some on a paper towel and I use it to wash the big screen TV in the living room, because it kind of sometimes get food on it from people preparing food, and it sits on the table. Anyways,
And John, there's a good chance, I haven't really overly looked into this topic particularly, but there is a good chance it is a holdover from the early days of motoring, because or even early days of engines. I mean, even in like researching for my book, there are advertisements in the magazines and stuff like that for alcohol powered motors, for gasoline powered motors, for different fuels for the motors. The most common, of course, being alcohol and gasoline.
Be right back.
Or even kerosene. So yeah, there are it could well be a holdover from the early days of motoring, and depending on where you were in the world, of course, being what you called it. Many people know that kerosene is still used as a engine fuel, particularly in planes and stuff like that. So using the different, don't generally come across kerosene as a fuel for anything outside aviation, or because it's I think, if I remember correctly, it's a more raw form of diesel. The next step of purification to go like kerosene, then diesel, then you start getting your gasoline products after that. From memory, I'm not 100% sure if I'm correct there. I'm kind of talking off the cuff a little bit. So yeah, and yeah, then of course you've got ethanol and ethanol mixtures and stuff like that. But yeah.
So no, actually, kerosene distills in between. Kerosene distills in between gasoline and diesel. So it's a little bit cleaner than diesel. Kerosene is the main component in jet fuel. So jet fuel is a combination of kerosene and gasoline. In a pinch, and together they, I don't know, it's a weird thing. Like when I was in Germany or Italy, when I was TDY to Italy for Operation Joint Endeavor, it was wintertime, and it's cold as shit in a hardened aircraft shelter. And our, the big turbine heaters, the big turbo heaters that are, like 4 feet long or whatever, we have those, and they run on diesel, right? Well, out on the flight line, nothing runs on diesel out there. We have a big old 5,000 gallon trailer next to the Has that's got contaminated jet fuel in it, because once the jet fuel has gone from the truck to the jet, once you take it out of the jet, it can never go back in. So it's considered contaminated. So once if you got to drain the fuel tanks to do some maintenance or whatever, that diesel is now just, it has to be disposed of, right? Or not diesel, jet fuel. Mm-hmm. And so we had this big old JP8 tanker right next to the Has. I couldn't get diesel for my heaters in the hardened aircraft shelter, so I filled them up with jet fuel, and then I fired it up the first time, and I got a 4-foot flame coming out the front of the heater. I mean, just like this massive black smoke filling up the Has. And I wound up having to open the doors to the Has, which is a whole other pain in the ass, because they're electric and they're like 3-foot thick concrete doors. And it's also like 12 degrees outside, so I got to let all this black smoke out and let all the cold air in. Anyways, there's like a little air adjustment band, and I adjusted the band on all the heaters to efficiently run jet fuel. And so then we're on the thing where it said diesel only. I crossed it out and I crossed it out and put JP8 only on it. And so after I left Italy, the heaters there forever ran on contaminated JP8, and did so efficiently without all the smoke and all that I But to be fair, I did kind of screw that up. I did not know that diesel and jet fuel were different. I thought they would be a one-for-one comparison, or you know what I mean? Like I figured, oh, diesel and jet fuel are almost the same. It'll be all right. Yeah, that 4-foot flame out the front was like, ooh, something's different here. But
yeah. Well, I see, and that's the thing. I thought it was closer to. I thought kerosene was before diesel and the refining process. And as I said, I wasn't 100% sure. You've just corrected me, so thank you very much. I now know a little bit more.
So, like, and the reason you can tell this, so like, you know how if you get gasoline on your fingers or whatever, it'll evaporate and dry out. Kerosene will do the same thing, but it takes a little bit longer. If you get diesel on your fingers, it's not going to dry out because the vapor point is so high that it'll just be slick. You have to wipe it off of your hands. So whereas gasoline and kerosene will both evaporate, diesel won't.
And just to correct Ben, in the early days of motoring, all fuel was actually unleaded, because leading was actually an additive that was discovered and added, I think it was in like the 1930s, to prevent knocking. Because once your engine got up to a certain temperature and ran a certain distance, it would cause the fuel would actually cause knocking, and the leading process was actually designed to reduce knocking, to raise the octane and reduce knocking, and then from that point on, all fuel became leaded. I think it was the 1930s, might have been the 1920s, and then once the people discovered the hazards of leaded fuel, that's when the additives for unleaded octane fuel became a thing. But yeah, prior to that, all fuel was unleaded.
Yeah, I remember when I went through the Petroleum Museum in Farmington, New Mexico. They had a whole little just like lots of neat stuff and neat facts. They had a whole interactive thing with that showed how fracking worked and all that. And anyways, one of the things that showed, like in 1920 in Farmington, you could get a gallon of you could pump crude oil straight into your fuel tank. So a gallon of hogback crude, which was from an area, everything up there goes by landmarks and areas. So hogback was a location up there in the area. So a gallon of hogback crude was a nickel, and a gallon of refined gasoline was like 8 cents. So you had your choice. When you pull it, instead of having leaded or unleaded or high octane or low octane, you could just get hogback crude or gasoline. Which I thought was neat. Like cars back there would run on straight crude oil, and the crude oil was that light. It didn't have a lot of the heavier elements like the crude does today. I mean, all that light stuff is gone for the most part. So it didn't have the asphalt and the heavy plastics and whatever. It was mostly just the higher hydrocarbons. So I thought that was pretty neat. I didn't realize that a car could just run on crude oil. At least 100 years ago.
I will say, I do have to go soon, but I will say, I said at the beginning of this, and this is probably why y'all did this, when I was talking about the Ford Chevy thing and all that I don't know jack about cars and vehicles, and so y'all are saying words, but
well, and see and to tie it back into the common complaint that we always have, in that this doesn't have much to do with blacksmithing. It does, because in the early days, and particularly this topic, in the early days of motoring, the blacksmith was where you would take your car to get repaired. They would be the ones that would fix the knocking. They would be the ones that would fix your axles and all that type of thing, repair the body, all sorts of things. They were also, particularly in the US, blacksmiths were the first petrol stations, gas stations. They were the first service stations. They were the ones that sold all your spare parts and your spark plugs and your oils and all your maintenance kits and stuff like that. So the occupation of mechanics prior to particularly 1910, a mechanic was synonymous with blacksmithing. All mechanics were blacksmiths back then. So this does tie in with.
And then I came along.
This ties in with what we're talking about, and even in the early days of motor racing, then motor racing, of course, as with any racing, goes right back to the start. Get a machine, and they go, my machine's faster than yours. Let's see. Ben saying, chief pit crew for NASCAR. Their head mechanics were blacksmiths. They were able to make parts on the fly or adapt parts on the fly, and their engineers, again, heavy influence on mechanics, heavy influence on blacksmithing, because the parts were, forged and lathed. We still have to this day, drop forged parts in cars. It's all mechanical now. It's all done by machines and presses and whatnot. But it still harkens back to those original methods, So this conversation, whilst yes, it kind of seems like chasing squirrels, relates to the history of the craft that we all love. So it's topical. It's relevant. So
man, we have almost like a full minute delay. I just changed my lighting because I didn't realize it. Like on the OBS, it looks fine, but then I look over here at my phone and I'm like, oh, that is really dark. So I leaned down and I turned my light up one notch, and then I waited. And it was like a full minute between it changing on OBS and it changing in the stream. So I was like, wow, we've developed a bit of a delay over the last hour and a half, or however the hell long we've been live.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can also click the live button. It'll zoom. Every time it buffers, it falls back.
Yeah, I'll probably have to do that. Yep.
The live goes to a 15-second delay.
Yeah, but like
Oh, okay. Well, I'm also 35 seconds behind. So there we go.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, Jack, there is I can't remember if it's in Practical Blacksmithing. It might be in the one I'm currently writing. But I actually have a design for a fuel oil forge. And they were designed as early as, I think mine comes from 1910. And it was a US military design. I think. But yeah, like fuel oil forges are something that goes all the way back. I believe Pointless Wanderer, Matt, he attempted to build, and I've seen a couple waste oil forges, and they do have to be forced air, but as soon as you get up the temperature, fuel oil is an absolute waste oil is definitely a plausible fuel.
Back in 18, a guy, Gordon Family Forge, he came to Quad State in 18. I never saw him again after that, but he built a waste oil forge, or tried to at least, and he wound up having to mix in a little bit of fuel with the used motor oil, and to get it to light. But that thing wound up burning so hot it just melted everything. It melted the refractory. It melted the case. I mean, like it was just too hot. It melted every freaking thing. He couldn't contain it. I mean, even the ceramic wool, it melted it. And it's just like what? And of course, it's forced air. So he had the massive forced air thing, and the nozzle off of like one of them, a fuel injector nozzle out of one of them heaters or whatever, and just. God, that thing was amazing. I mean, but yeah, it was just it was he was going to be working on dialing it in and like trying to figure out how to make it not melt everything, and then the project just kind of fizzled, and never heard anything about it. I was going to do something similar, except I was going to use I was going to get a hold of a turbocharger and have it self-fed, where like it was almost like one of them. What do they call it? The exhaust from it's a contained unit, and the exhaust is spinning the turbo, which is feeding the forced air. And I thought it'd be really neat to have this thing that just, and then just then wind up with that big old turbo whine on a forge, but then that just at the end of the day, I could have built it, but it would have cost me like $1,500 to put that thing together, and I was just like, ugh. The project's just not like, while it's fascinating in my mind having a turbocharged forge, not Ford, it wasn't worth the expenditure and the time it was going to take me to fabricate all of the like the exhaust piping, the intake piping, and all that stuff, because you can't do it with the rubber connectors like you'd have on a vehicle, because it's going to be the proximity, it's going to get too hot. And then the question is, well, do you put an intercooler on it? I mean, I don't know. And then there was a whole issue with, okay, you got to oil the turbo, you got to keep it oiled, so you got to have an oil sump with an electric oil pump, and so it wasn't going to be worth the effort. And in hindsight, I kind of wish I'd have chased that squirrel and made that like rocket, like I think they call it like a rocket stove, but if it were a rocket forge. It would have been fun.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so like I was saying, like using fuel oil or waste oil as a forge is a legitimate idea for fuel. It has been attempted since the early days of motoring. No one's publicly managed to quite get them dialed in right. Even in the explanation that I've seen, it was basically saying, this can be done, but it's not that flat. It's not great. It's not the best.
There are better ways to do it.
Yeah, and generally gas.
An oil burner forge would be good if you have constant access to. Like, I would do an oil burner forge if, like, I did a shit ton of oil changes for people and would always have oil, because I've seen an oil burner forge that, you filter used oil and run it through it and boom, it works. It's dirty as hell, but it works.
Yeah, my the mechanic shop that when I lived in Pine Bluffs, Wyoming, our truck shop had an oil burning furnace to heat the shop. And so we had this big ass 150 gallon oil tank where when they changed the oil on the big trucks, that all of the used oil went into that tank, and all year long. And that thing, it heated the shop all year long, or I mean like all winter, which, in Wyoming, winter's a lot longer than it is down here. But yeah, that was interesting. Except when it wasn't working.
All right, guys. I do got to roll out. The storm just hit hard. Obviously, it got real dark here, and I've got people messaging me.
Okay.
So I know everybody's only here because I'm just kidding. Y'all are here because I'm leaving. All 19, 20 of you guys watching. So I'm going to kick out. I'll say goodbye to everybody. I did miss a lot of the comments. I'm checking every freaking thing. Hello to everybody. Thank you all for being here. And I've got a meeting. I've got a butt ton of stuff to do, and I got a storm. So, yay.
All right.
I don't know if y'all... I might get picking it up, and I was going to turn my camera to it, but I would knock out the plugs, and then I'd have to just lose video completely. But yeah, them big old trees right in my front yard are swinging.
Just a swinging.
Anyway, thank you all. I don't even know where my comment. There it is. John Brunell, you coming by again or no? Anyway, bye, everybody. Y'all keep going if you want.
See, I think we'll go a little bit longer and then check out, because we're just now hitting our.
If y'all are still up when I'm done, which will be several hours from now, if by chance you guys decide to do 12-hour stream, I might hop back in.
No, I don't think we're gonna do that.
Okay. So, much love to all of you guys. Have a good day. Enjoy. Now I've never gotten out. I've never left it with.
I know, right?
Change everything to keep them black. I know. There it is. All these tabs. Bye.
Oh yeah, miss.
All right.
So now it's just me and Alexis. You're stuck with it.
Now I gotta fix the. All right. I gotta resize. Discord, yeah. Give me just a second here. I gotta. It's hard to do this stuff on the fly, at least for me, because this is not what I usually do. All right, a little bit bigger. So usually we just leave all this shit to Yamez and call it good. All right, transition and new source. Anyways, oh yeah, that's I was gonna mention. Yeah, since I got an iPhone the other day, sources, add new. Since I got an iPhone the other day, image 3. Okay. Oh nope, that's not it. I bought Apple TV, and to try it out because there was a show on there I wanted to see. I remember going, oh yeah, that'd be neat, and so I went ahead and got it. And yeah, yesterday I got sucked into Silo, and so I think I got like 4 episodes deep in Silo, and so far that's pretty good. There's actually quite a few little shows in there I was wanting to check out. So all right, I think I got it, and there we go. Transition. There we go. Now I got the space filled in. See, I can't. I'm not really good on the fly. It's just, well, I got it going. All right. Anyways,
all that matters. Huh? You got it going.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch up on the chat. So you can stream live videos with that fancy new iPhone, you know, like in the shop. I could if I had a shop. I'm just going to leave that right there. Do we have a way to get the camera in his shop to view the cobwebs? Now, I'm sure it's just like stuff piled up at this point because, like, man, like when I was there.
Wait, are you referring? I was going to say, you're referring to Yamez's shop or mine? Because mine's not much better at the moment.
No, I'm talking about Yamez's because it's in that garage. I mean, like, it's literally, it's stuff piled all the way to the ceiling in that whole garage, and then there's a path. You walk in the door, you go straight down to the end of the shop, you make a left-hand turn, and all the way at the far opposite corner is where the blacksmith area is, and the whole rest of the shop is just stuff piled to the top. I mean, you remember the impromptu live streams where he was climbing up the shelves and finding stuff up in the top? I mean, those were great, you know. At least I thought they were. Good times back in the day anyways. But yeah, I mean, and now I'm sure because he hasn't been in there forging in so long, I'm sure it's just like stuff has encroached into the area because it's an open spot, you know. It's like, oh, we'll just set this here. Oh, we'll just set this there. You know what I mean?
Yep, I get it. The good old flat surface is a dumping space.
Yeah, and then mine right now is all kind of disassembled, so everything can be cleaned and all that, and so yeah, I'm not going to be making anything for a hot minute. It's like I keep meaning to get out there and take care of stuff, and it's like it's too cold. It's like 40 degrees outside. I'm not doing that. Yeah, and I know you people up in New York be like 40 degrees. That's t-shirt weather. Yeah, I know, right? Well, not here. It's not. Here, that's get your coat.
And I'm still in the process of setting up, so it'll be done. It will be done. Right. I can't say soon, I have to wait for it to dry out a little bit. But
Right.
once it does, then I'll get in and clean her up and get her ready and get her going.
Have you used it since you put it up, or is it still?
The workshop, no. It's just it's everything's in there, waiting to be set up.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
Yeah, I didn't know if you'd actually set
that,
up or not.
Yeah, no, it's in that erected but unset up, and everything's down there. Most of the important stuff's undercover. So, you know, it's down there. I've still got to put the doors on it, and I've got to dig a trench to run power and all that type of thing. But unfortunately, like I said, wet season, everything's sloppy. There's certain parts of my block where even if I walk through it, I'll sink half an inch, just walking. So the ground is soft at this time of year. During the dry season, it's rock hard, but this time of year, you go to walking through certain areas of the block and you sink half an inch. My water table at this time of year is probably 2 inches from ground. That's and I live on a bore. And this time of year, I don't need to run it. But seriously, the water table is like 2 inches from the surface at this time of year.
Wow.
It's that wet. Like, unless you've lived in a monsoonal region, people are surprised at the sheer amount of water we get at this time of year. So yeah, like we get. I mean, I think the most water I've seen in a day of rain, we had something like, I think it was 6 feet of water in a 24-hour period. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. People measure it in mils. That's measured in liters. You know, that's ridiculous amount of water in a 24-hour period. That's the most I've seen. And admittedly, that was during what you guys would call a hurricane, what we call a cyclone. That was during a cyclone. That was, the deluge coming in, and then when the cyclone dissipated. But yeah, that was 1998 when that happened. And I wasn't living in Darwin. I was living further south. I was living about 200 kilometers south of where I am now. But yeah, like I said, that was we got 6 feet, which is 2 meters of water in a 24-hour period. It was absolutely ridiculous.
How far would you say you are from Darwin? I mean, like on the map, I know what it is, but I mean, like,
Yeah. Travel distance, I'm about 45 to 50 kilometers ish from Darwin City. Travel time 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant was time. Sorry, I said how far, but yeah, I meant how long, because I mean, like, looking at the map, I can see where your house is, I can see where Darwin is, but that I mean, like, there's no scale really, you know what I mean? Like there's no sense of scale. Yeah. And so, because I mean, Australia is a big freaking place. It's as wide as the United States, but it doesn't look like it on the map. On the map, it looks tiny in comparison, but it's not. You know, I mean, like it takes as long to go from New York to LA as it takes to go from Brisbane to Perth. You know, I mean, like, well, this way, not straight across, but yeah, and so just because of the way the map is made, it's very deceiving. And so things look like they're a lot closer than they really are.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was like, I wonder how long it would take to drive to Perth, and it's like, oh shit.
Well, from Darwin, see, Darwin Airport's not actually in Darwin. It's actually close to the Casuarina, which is a suburb of Darwin. But yeah, so it's from my place to Darwin Airport is approximately 50 minutes. So, and that's doing the speed limit.
So
I live rural, so
there's an interesting question. You live out in the sticks. What's the speed limit out in the sticks out there?
On the highway, it's 130 kilometers an hour.
On one?
on the highway.
On Highway 1? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's just the Stewart Highway.
Yeah,
I think it's Highway 1. And so yeah, it is 130 kilometers an hour. It drops down as you get a little bit closer to town. It drops down to 110, and then as you get further into town, it drops down to 100, and then down to 90. The closer into town you get, the lower speed, the lower speed drop. But out my way, it's 130 kilometers an hour on the highway. Most of the rural roads out here are rated to 100 or 80, which I'm not sure what that converts.
Yeah, I know. I got it. The speedometer in my big truck is in kilometers, so I'm regulated. Like my big truck is regulated to 90 kilometers per hour, which is 57 miles per hour, and so 100 is basically 62 miles an hour. 130 is basically 75. So like our interstate speed out here, not in town, is 75 or 80. So it's basically about the same as what you guys got.
Yeah, and so Northern Territory have unique speed limits. So the highway or Highway 1 is 130 most of the way. I believe there's still a small section which is open. It used to be all open. Once you left Darwin, except going through towns, it used to be open speed limits. You could go as fast as you want. But I think about 10 years ago, they limited it. It went to 130 for most of it. I think there still might be a section between Tennant Creek and Alice Springs, which is still open, where you can go as fast as you want. But Northern Territory has the highest speed limits in the country. We have 130 on our open highway. Most of Australia, it's 110 maximum speed limit. And that's for rural highways. And as you get close to the towns and stuff like that, it generally drops down to 100. Within town limits, normally the highest speed limit you'll get within most town limits is 80. It's 60, in the CBDs and stuff like that, or 50, and in school zones, doesn't matter where you are in Australia, speed limit is a hard 40 kilometers an hour. So if you're going through a school zone where a primary school or high school is, it is, if you get booked doing 41 kilometers an hour, you will get a full fine and demerit points. So and that's for in different parts of Australia, the times are different. So, for example, in Queensland, between, I think it's 7 and 9 a.m., you have to do 40. Between 9 and 3, it's generally around 50 or 60 kilometers an hour, and then or 230, and then 230 till like 4 or 5, it'll be 40 kilometers an hour again, because that's school time. In the Northern Territory, for example, I think it's 8 a.m. till 4 p.m., 40 kilometers an hour whenever you go through the school zone, because different schools, kids might be finishing early or going on excursions or whatnot. So
sure,
they have a hard, during the school hours, it is 40 kilometers an hour, and you'll be booked. And the police will sit with radars and stuff like that in school zones to catch people.
Oh yeah, no, they're pretty. I mean, like here in Texas, they're pretty strict on that too. I mean, like I got pinched in the school zone once, because the school zone sign was just past another sign that's always flashing that says highway intersection ahead. So that sign has always got a yellow flashing light, a highway intersection ahead. And then like 30 feet past it is the school zone sign and I never go through this particular town during school hours. Like it's just not something that I do. Just because of the time of day that I always go between my house and work. And this particular day, it was school time, and like the speed limit through town is 40, and then the speed limit in the school zone is 30. And like I come into town, I'm going 40, I go right through the school, completely missed that the school zone sign was on, and 40 mile an hour right through there. Cop pulls out behind me, and I'm like, what the fuck? I pull over, and I'm like,
yep.
I was going 40, man. I know I was on it. I was watching it. And he's like, no, this is school zone. Speed limit is 30. And I was like, oh, fuck me. Yeah, and I mean, dude, that was a hefty fine. I mean, it's not as bad as passing a school bus. I think passing a school bus here is $10,000. But the school zone was like $480 for going 10 over in the school zone, and that's no joke. I mean, hell, even the only ticket I have on my record currently is improper use of a turning lane. I use the turning lane as a merging lane, and that one cost me almost $300, and I was like, you got to be shitting me. God, I remember in San Angelo when like the minor infractions when I was a kid growing up were like $80. You know, it's like a no seatbelt ticket, $80. The only one that was big was back then was a no insurance ticket. A no insurance ticket would fry you.
Yeah. Well, like Ben says, you know, we've got road trains up here. I'm not sure if Ben's seen a regular road train or a proper road train. So there's actually two types. There's actually technically 3 types of road trains in Australia. Four types of road trains in Australia. So you've got your what we call a short road train, which is generally a prime mover with 2 trailers, right? You have your short long. It's not what it's called, but it's for easy description. So you'll have your prime mover with a dolly trailer and then 2 regular trailers. Then we have our regular road train, which is a prime mover with 3 regular trailers, and then you have a full road train, which is most commonly a prime mover, a dolly trailer, and then 3 regular trailers. So you don't see them very often. Generally, it's your regular road trains. It'll just be, you know, your prime mover and 3 regular trailers. That's what we move through the Northern Territory and Western Australia most commonly. But they don't generally happen in most other states of Australia. You can get them in rural Queensland, but as you get further south, generally it's a truck, maximum 2 trailers. But depends on the trucking company. But then again, like when you're on private roads, so the longest recorded road train in the world was in Australia, and it was a prime mover, and I think had like 18 trailers or something stupid on it. But that was on a mine. That was on a mine road. So that was on a private road on a mine site. That wasn't for highway use. Yeah,
right.
So yeah.
Could you imagine making Could you imagine making a right hand turn in that sumbitch?
Oh yeah, you'd definitely have to swing. But yeah, no, but even in town, like we have road trains that come all the way in, not all the way into Darwin City, but all the way into the industrial area, which is Berrima and East Arm. So they come all the way in, and that's 3 trailers. So they're a regular occurrence here. But I'm not sure if you saw the if you saw them out from Adelaide, yeah, you probably would have seen the full road trains and 3 trailer ones. Yeah, because they're very common in rural parts of Australia, particularly in the western side of you know, Australia, being Northern Territory, South Australia, West Australia. Even though where I live, Northern Territory and South Australia, generally classified as Central Australia, the East just looks at because most of our population is on the East Coast. They kind of look at us as the Western states. Anything west of the Great Dividing Range is west. You could say, as a comparison, the Great Dividing Range, or the Blue Mountains, as they're colloquially called, are kind of like I'm not sure if it's the Appalachians or the Rocky Mountains, where it's like, you know, it's relatively close to the coast, and everything is kind of west of that.
Yeah, no, it's the Rocky Mountains is the Continental Divide. So like all of the water on the east side of the Rockies flows to the Atlantic Ocean, and all of the water on the west side of the Rockies flows to the Pacific Ocean. So, and that's our Continental Divide, and so that runs up from New Mexico up the western side of New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. So everything west of that is the, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. But
our Great Divide basically runs from far north Queensland all the way down to Victoria. It runs pretty much all of our east coast, At the closest, it's within 50 kilometers of the coast, and most, I think it's something like 80% of our population lives on the eastern side of that. So between the Great Dividing Range and the coast, a ridiculous proportion of our population lives on the eastern side of that.
Huh.
Yeah. And even of that, the majority lives like New South Wales to Victoria. It's ridiculous. Like and most of our population is located in the southeastern corner of Australia.
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, like, because yeah, and I know, like, looking at the map, and when you zoom in, there's like all these little bitty towns, even down into the interior. And then when I talk to people, like I have friends in Sydney, I have friends in Perth, I have friends in Brisbane, and when I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, not many people really venture into the middle. You know, it's like we all live around the outside for the most part.
Yeah, because like people, if you look at the size of the US, right, and you went and said, okay, everything west of, say, West Virginia is desert or arid, right? That's basically Australia, right? Everything west of West Virginia is either arid, right? So, you know, scrubland, to desert. And that's Australia. The like they call us the driest continent in the world, and we are, in I think exception to Antarctica, because Antarctica has a lot of ice, but like Australia literally is the driest continent in the world, right? We have three major rivers, and they're all on the east coast.
Yeah, and well, and to be fair, I mean, like the places that do get rain. You know, that rain is measured, but then it's divided up amongst all of the area of the continent, and so when you divide up that rain, that, like, say like, you know, you guys get 6 feet of rain up here in the Northern Territories or whatever. Well, if nobody, you know, that rain gets divided up amongst the whole continent, and so when, you know, that by the time you spread out that many acre feet of water over that much land mass, it's the driest continent on Earth, because, you know, they don't separate it into the areas where it rains and the areas where it doesn't. But I mean, because
even if they do, like.
Because, like, you, I was gonna say, I know you get rain for 3 months out of the year or whatever. You get more rain over the course of an entire year than we get here in Texas.
Yeah, but we're also tropical.
Yeah.
You know, but that you know, that rain, most of that rain might run out to sea, or, you know, if it does go into tributaries, we get it in like you said, we get it in 3 months of the year, right? So. Unlike, you know, there's a lot of places in the US where it might not rain as much as we do in 3 months, but you get that rain constantly over the course of the year, in which case it keeps your creeks and rivers and all that type of thing running. They start in the mountains and they flow down. Whereas here, it gets 3 months, that creek or river or whatnot might flood, but then it's got no more source water for the rest of the year, so it dries the hell up.
Yeah.
You know, so we have water for 3 months, and then we've got nothing for 8, 9 months.
Sure.
So yeah, so there's that thing as well, and it's like, even like the creek beside my property, that's flowing right now, right? But within, say, a month or so of the end of wet season, it's bone dry. Because the source water's dried up.
Typically, like I seen your pictures there. Your water tanks or whatever that they you collect rainwater. How long does it typically take for you to fill up? Like when it starts raining in the wet season?
Oh, it'll take, depending on the rain. It might take one storm.
Oh shit.
Sometimes it might take, Sometimes it might take, 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the amount of rain we get. But once it's full, like, it'll stay full for the whole wet season. And then I actually have to and I'm due to do it, I have to go turn my bore on so it doesn't silt up, because from the start of wet season, I don't use my bore for 6 months.
Oh, okay.
I don't use my well for 6 months. Yeah, because my water tanks generally hold about 3 months worth of water, on regular usage.
Right. So all through the wet season, wet season, you don't have to turn the pump on, and then for 3 months after.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's right.
So basically,
so I generally.
I say basically, if you had 2 more tanks, you could just run on rainwater all year.
And that's eventually my plan. I want to be able to run, basically on rainwater, and yeah, like I said, that's eventually my plan. I actually want to set up 2 more tanks and have 2 tanks dedicated to my bore water and 2 tanks dedicated to rainwater, because rainwater, it doesn't have all the minerals and stuff that come out of the ground. So, and I like the taste of rainwater. I think rainwater, rainwater here is some of the purest water in the world, hands down, because we don't have the contamination, the airborne contaminants that a lot of places in the world have. So I can honestly say that rainwater here is naturally sweet.
Huh.
It sounds weird to say that water is sweet, but yeah, there is a sweetness to rainwater here that I haven't tasted anywhere else in Australia.
Interesting. Do you have you ever? Well, I guess it's probably going to be fairly neutral, because I know my mom's house has 2 wells, right? One at the front,
Yep.
which we called the house well. It was like 50 feet deep, and it was in red silt,
Yep.
and so it was in red clay, and so like it would silt up the pipes. And so once a year we would have to like reverse the water flow through the pipes. We had a whole setup where you turn the water off here to the house, and then you open up this valve, and then you run a water hose around, and you backflow the water, and it would blow all the silt out of the water lines. The irrigation well in the back was it's a much larger bore. It was an 8-inch casing instead of a 5-inch. And it was 75 feet deep in limestone, a solid limestone aquifer. And oh my goodness, that water, it was a little bit alkaline because of the limestone, but that was the best tasting water. It still is, ever. And eventually we got tired of the well, like the silting up the lines. And when I had to put in a new leach line down through the backyard, and while I was at it, I ran a water line in the same ditch. I ran a water line from the irrigation well up to the house so that the house could run the good water. And we got the good water here, But that was always the best tasting water to me. Was it came out of the back well at my mom's house, because it was a little bit alkaline. And so today I have alkaline water. That's what I buy in my jugs, is the pH 9 alkaline water. So.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to load it up now. I think my bore is slightly alkaline. I'm just, like I said, I actually have bore reports that I can have access to. I'm just trying to load it up.
Hey, close your camera and reopen it. You're froze.
Am I? Okay, hang on.
Do. And anyways. Oh, Matthew popped in. How about that? What's going on, Matt? Long time no see. Well, shit, Adam. I said to close the camera and turn it back on, but did he leave Discord altogether? Yep. he's still there. Just the video's not coming through. Or audio. Come on. Any day now. Alright. Now, how do I fix that again? Oh. Of course. Now I don't know how I did that. Sure. Yeah, this is going well. No big loss. He talks funny anyways. Our plane flew over a river from Sydney to Adelaide. Did I catch that at the right time? Possibly. Ben, what months were? Yeah, he did bail, right? What months were you there? Just out of curiosity. And I don't remember how the hell I hide non-video participants. There we go. Now, if he pops back in, that should be correct. Yeah. It looks like Adam Adam just like, screw you guys. I'm taking my camera and going home. Now, but let me ask you this: when you read Adam's comments, do you read them in his voice in your head? All right, I guess Adam's going to do a restart, and we'll go from there, I guess. Because I for everybody I think that's something that I don't know, maybe everybody does it. But once I've heard someone's voice or talked to someone, anytime I read their typing or whatever, I always hear it in their voice in my head. So, which is handy because when I have conversations with my therapist in my head, it's like I'm talking to my therapist. Because I ask my therapist a question in my head, and my therapist in my head, in his voice, answers me because I know the way he would answer the question most of the time. Sometimes the therapist in my head says, "You should really ask me that next Friday." Okay, yeah, I'll do that. So you were there in the Australian summer? You make him sound normal in. Oh yeah, okay, late September, right on. Oh. It's snakes on a plane, snakes on a atom, or a kangaroo. And so what was it he was trying to kookaburra or something like that? I don't know. Conversation from the pre-show, as I was trying to put this thing together in a hurry and failing miserably at first, but I think it came together pretty good. Yeah. And now I'm just sitting here going, what the fuck am I going to talk about? Waiting on Adam to restart his computer. I don't know. Oh yeah, John, you said you had like 2 feet of snow to walk out to the shop. Why hasn't that shit been shoveled? I mean, it's just like from there to there. I mean, just like cut you a little path. Your shop is heated, right? Go out there and hang out. I mean, I don't know. I basically live in my shop when I'm at home. I don't like going in the house until I have to, like to go use the bathroom or shower or eat. That's about it. Otherwise, I just stay in my shop because that's my happy place. Yeah. I did not know that sprint boat racing originated as a Kiwi thing. I literally thought that was a Northwest thing, like up there in your neck of the woods. I have a second driveway on the other side of the house that goes to the shop. All right. And we get 2 feet. You know what? I always thought when I lived up north, or more north than I am now, and we actually got snow and stuff, I thought it'd be neat to have like a heated driveway, where like because in my shop in Wyoming we had it had a heated floor, and the heated floor did not really heat the shop. It kept it above freezing though, and eventually though my boss, because my boss owned the place and I was renting it, eventually my boss shut that shit off because it was running through like $600 worth of propane a month to heat the shop floor. And but I thought it'd be neat to have like that's like a recirculating hot water system in a driveway. So we're like, you know, just like when it's wintertime, you just like turn on the driveway heat and it would never collect snow. It would just automatically melt all the time. I always thought that would be a neat thing to build, and I don't know, maybe people do build that. I don't know, but I thought it would be a neat idea. I see you're back there, Adam. You got audio?
I'm currently on my phone because my system has crashed. It's not responding at all.
Oh!
So I'm trying to forcibly shut down my computer. It looks like Discord is taking up most of the memory on my computer for some reason.
It shouldn't be. I mean, Discord's a pretty compact program.
Yeah, but it's taking up 611 megabytes, and it's running the most highly, taking up the most memory. I don't know what the hell's going on. So yeah, I just had to forcibly shut down my computer, which I just did, to find out what the hell's going on. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I can't see the chat or anything at the moment because I'm currently on my phone.
Oh yeah. No, that's all good. You know, it's just been constantly Ben and me talking shit about you since you went dark.
Okay. I noticed John was doing that. That's all right. Before my system gave up and just froze on everything.
Yeah. So something I mentioned while you were out there was the way that, like when I've heard somebody's voice, when I read what they type, I hear it in their voice in my head. And that's just the way I am. And do you do the same thing? Do you hear people's voices when you read their typing, or do you read it in your own voice?
People I know well enough, kind of, I hear it in their voice, but I'm not an auditory thinker, so I'm a visual thinker. So as a result, like I said, I don't really hear the voice. However, I do imagine, for example, you know, when I read messages from you, I kind of do hear your voice, but I more imagine you actually physically saying the word. Physically actually saying the words as opposed to hearing your voice, if you kind of understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm watching something on TV with the sound off and subtitles. That's how it works for me.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, more than hearing someone's voice, I kind of visualize them saying it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I do it that way or if it's just the voice I hear. I know when I'm having conversations in my head, it's the person that's there talking to me in my head, the voices, which I know are all me, obviously. But when I have a conversation with you in my head, you're standing there having a conversation, with your Australian accent, and I'm talking to you. Realize, and it's weird because in my head I also realize I'm still both people. It's not like you're actually in my head. It's just my interpretation of you in my head, and but then when but by the same account, when like we're typing in a Discord chat or whatever, like I'm totally reading your words in your accent. You know what I mean? Like in your voice, so to speak. I don't read it in American. I read it in with the Australian inflection, and I don't know, it's just the way it is. And like when I a lot of times when I type, I will type in Texan, like instead of saying morning you all or morning ladies or whatever, it's morning y'all, and I type that and then so somebody reads that in the Texan accent, or and there are a lot that's a really lame example because that's just like a regular word now. It's not something like autocorrect will correct y'all with the apostrophe in it, and so it's more recognized than some other words that are just like that I intentionally type a certain way so that they're read in the correct accent. It just, I don't know, it's a thing I do.
Yep, that's fair. So I kind of figured out what, after I forcibly restarted my computer, forcibly crashed it and restarted it decided it wanted an update. So maybe that's what caused it to freeze and crash. Don't know, but now it's taking forever to load Discord, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think my thing showed Discord had an update ready, but I haven't done it yet. I think because what it does is, like, when I restart my computer, Discord automatically checks for and downloads and installs updates like first thing on startup. And if I'm not connected to the internet, like if the internet's out or something like that, the Discord updater will sit there and run continuously, checking, and I have to manually shut down the Discord updater if I'm not connected to the internet, because it'll just sit there and be like error. And that's irritating.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but it is what it is.
So it's still not. It's still funky, huh?
Yep, still funky. I'm just trying to load back into the actual live stream and see if I can get back on chat. Annoy everyone.
What's your I forgot that. I hate when that happens. Mid question, it just it went away.
Yep.
It's like I think I had two things that were on my brain at the same time, and they conflicted, and they both one of them made a hard right turn, one of them made a hard left turn, and I was left with what is. I don't have any idea now. It's all right. Like, I hate getting old.
It happens. Okay. Let's put that back up so I can annoy everyone.
I'll do it. Oh, yeah, I gotta stop doing that. I'm sitting here just randomly moving my mouse around, and I realize it's coming through the Discord because I'm going over the Discord window with it.
Okay. That's what I've got on the current cigarette pack.
Quitting will improve your health. No, that's not so bad. Chesterfields, huh? Wow.
Yeah. You don't want to know what they cost.
Yeah, they're like 20, aren't they?
Keep going.
30?
Keep going.
40?
$45 a pack for a 20-pack.
Fuck. So that's like 20. That's like 20 US then. I thought it was 20 Australian.
Hang on, let me check. So $28.58 US.
Fuck that. That's stupid. I mean, really, that's stupid. I mean, like, why would you bother smoking it? I mean, like, I pay $28 for 2 of these, and each one of them will last me 3 months.
Yep.
So that's like for that's what, that's 20 is 30, $10 a month, I guess. No, that's $5 a month for these vapes. Now, on the other hand, I'm not all over this thing all day long. My daughter goes through one in like 2 weeks, which I don't understand how she can mow through a vape that fucking fast. Like I said, it takes me like 3 months to use one up, but.
I'm going to try and turn back on the computer one to see if it works.
All right.
Back in a sec.
Hey, there you go.
It works again.
Yeah, your audio's way low though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me see if I can up my audio. Hang on. Let's go to. My microphone's all the way up. Hang on. No, it's defaulted to the wrong microphone. Hang on.
Yeah, I say it's.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you go. I was just saying because I still had you at like 100%, so I was like, that's on your end. If I crank you up, it's gonna be bad if you figure it out.
Yeah, it changed from this microphone to this microphone for some reason.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all fixed now.
I knew it wasn't your dynamic mic. I was like, there's another mic that's picking it up, but I didn't even see the one on your headset. I was thinking maybe it would switch to your camera.
No, it's switched to this one. So yeah, but it's all good. Yep, we're fixed now. We're back in business. So there you are, John. Nah, Matt. No, I think it was. Microsoft forced an update on me, and that resulted in everything freezing. So, but back to the conversation we were having, because it was about when everything went sideways. It was about my well and my well water.
Yeah. We were talking about the alkalinity.
Yeah. So let me just open it up because I'm pretty sure I have a bore report. and I think it has my alkalinity and everything on it. Hang on, I think it had the pH on it. Just a second. The supply. That is pH. So the pH of my bore when it was tested, and mind you, this is holy shit, 1993, so 30 years ago, was 8.2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So then your bore was obviously there before you even bought the place. Then that was already done.
Oh, well before, yeah. It was. I I bought the place in 2019.
Yeah, no,
so,
I had thought you bought the property and it was completely unimproved, and you had to run the electric and have the well drilled.
No, so the well was already drilled. I did have to run the electric.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So I mean, the well was already drilled, so that saved me $20,000. But and that kind of was a selling point. There's a block across the road that had power to the road, but has no bore. But it still would have cost me. It would have cost me $20,000 more to drill the bore, because that's the average cost.
Yeah.
Ish, about $20,000 to drill a bore. But yeah, but no, that's this one already had the bore drilled, and. Yeah, and like before I bought the place, I went and looked at the bore report that I brought up, and like so I can give you the depth and everything. So it's I've got 1.2 liters per second is what they tested it to.
That's a good flow.
Yeah. What is it? I'm just trying to find all the information. So I've got black shale, which is where the black shale is where it goes through. It's 38 meters in depth. So hang on, let's convert that to feet. Meters to feet. So 38. So it's my bore is 128 feet, 124 feet deep. 1.2 liters per second.
See you, John.
And my standing water level is 5 meters. So my water starts 16 feet down, but I'm drilled 124.
Fuck yeah, that's good. I mean, like that's pretty decent there. Because I know I mentioned last time, the one at my house, the well that's at my house, it doesn't have a pump in it at all. But yeah, I got water at 12 feet and it's 53 feet deep, I think, or 55 feet, 50 feet. I don't know. I think it's right in the neighborhood of 50 feet deep. It's hard to tell because as I sent the weight down on the string, there's a certain amount of stretch in the string, and then I pull it out and measure, stretch it or lay it out on the ground and measure how long it was from the top to the bottom, and how much of the string was wet. And so, but there is a certain amount of stretch when you got 50 foot of string lines drop down there. So there's a little bit of variation, but no, that's pretty good, especially a 1.2 liters per second flow rate. That's you'd be hard pressed to run the water out before it could recover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Even a big ass pump pumping out a 2-inch stream wouldn't be able to run it out. So.
Yeah, and again, I've got water from 5 meters to 124 meters. So I've got 120 odd meters, or Jesus, hang on, 119 meters. So I've got 390 foot of water as well. So, and particularly at this time of year, I've got more. Like I said, my water table goes about 2 inches or 5 centimeters below the surface. So I've got basically 124 meters, or 400 feet of water.
Yeah, when
at the moment,
Yeah, when I first got out of the Air Force and I moved in with my first ex-wife, she wasn't my first ex-wife at the time, at her place. Shortly after I got out, but before I got a job, Like I was still on terminal leave or whatever, so I didn't even have a job yet. I had like 2 or 3 months. I think I had 2 months of terminal leave. So I was just kicking it, just chilling, enjoying life, not having a job. Well, the freaking pump went out in the well, and I didn't know anything about it, so I had to go pull it. It was 175 feet of 1-inch galvanized pipe, and I'm like, there's a hole in the roof of the pump house so you can get the thing out, and it took me and my brother-in-law all day to get that 175 foot of galvanized pipe out. You put a pipe wrench on each side, and 2 people lift it up, and then a third person throw a pipe wrench on the bottom to rest it on the well casing, and then we'd get another bite, and oh my, it was so much work to get that thing out of the hole. And I was like, there is no way I'm putting that pipe back in the hole. Not happening. And so I pawned my Model 700 30-06 to buy the pipe to put it the Schedule 80 PVC to put down the hole. And yeah, I mean, I wound up paying the interest on that pawn for like a year and a half before I finally was like, never mind, screw that, y'all keep it. I never did get that gun out of pawn, and honestly, I mean, like, if I had, I probably just would have sold it later on anyways, because I haven't been deer hunting since I was a kid. So
yeah, well, yeah, I don't have galvanized pipe all the way down. Ours is poly pipe. I think it's it might be 2-inch poly pipe. Yeah, so 50 mil, I think it is. So yeah, about 2-inch poly pipe that attaches to the pump with rope, so I can pull it up, and I'm not relying on the pipe.
Yep, and that's what I did when I put that thing in there. I built when I went in with the PVC, I built a tripod right next to the well with a hand crank, like a come along thing. And I replaced the rope with plastic coated cable, and then, so after I put it back in, when I needed to pull it, I could just crank that sucker right out of the hole, unscrew a joint, move it out of the way, crank out another one, unscrew it, move it out of the way. It was great.
Yep. I was going to say, it's not rope, it's stainless steel cable.
Yeah,
that's what we've got attached to.
Or what I actually found was easier with the PVC was just to crank it out of the hole, and then I would have my wife, because it is fairly flexible. It would bend over, and then she would catch the end of it when it came over the top of the pump house, and I would crank it out of the hole, and she would just walk it out into the yard, and we just leave it all in one piece, because. That first time, I could afford the pipe, but I couldn't afford the pump. So I had to rebuild the motor on the pump myself. I literally, the teeth were gone on that drive the pump, and so I found another Red Jacket pump. I took the whole motor apart. I pressed the shaft out of one. It was too long, so I cut it off with a chop saw. I pressed that shaft into the armature of my old pump, put it all back together, ran like a champ. And my wife was like, "Is that going to work?" I'm like, "I don't fucking know. I mean, it could pump water for 5 minutes or 5 years. I mean, I've never rebuilt an actual electric motor before like that, or not really rebuilt, but I did clean it all up and cleaned up the brushes and all that. But the main thing was I pressed the shaft, the central shaft out of the armature, and then when I put the new one in, I just slathered JB Weld on it and slid it in there, and it actually held up for like 3 years. Before I had to pull it again. So
fair enough. Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's the water in my place. It's fairly good.
Hell yeah.
But mind you, that was in 1993.
Yeah.
That's what 30 years ago now. Fuck.
Yeah, I was a junior in high school then.
I was in primary school.
Well, at least you weren't still a twinkle in your dad's eye, right?
What? No. I was 1993. I was in 2nd grade.
Hell yeah.
Because where I started my school, we didn't have, like, the first grade wasn't actually the first grade. The first grade was actually what we call kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. That's what we are. You kindergarten at 5, and then at 6 you go first grade, and then second grade.
Yeah. So, but I started kindergarten at 4.5, so I started a little bit early. But that it balanced out because when I moved to Queensland from New South Wales, because Queensland has a different schooling system, they actually held me back a grade rather than put me forward a grade to where I was academically. They held me back a grade because they classified me as too young to be in the next grade. So, yeah.
And
So
so ours typically starts at kindergarten unless you have rich parents, in which case you can get pre-K. So if your parents, because pre-K costs money, that ain't free, and so if your parents got money, they can put you in pre-K at like 4. But then there's at least everywhere I've been, you had to have reached your 5th birthday to be in kindergarten, and so like my birthday is the 22nd of September. So like the school year always starts at the beginning of September or the end of August. I was so like right at school starts right before my birthday. I had to wait till the next year, so I was almost 6 by the time I started kindergarten. And so yeah, when I graduated high school, I was 19.
Yeah, well, see here, well, in New South Wales where I started school, it's the same thing. So you got preschool. Preschool isn't compulsory, and it's kind of like daycare. Then you got kindergarten. That's where you generally start. Most people start at 5 as well. Like I said, my birthday's in June, so they allowed me to start at 4.5 because I turned, basically I turned 5 halfway through our school year, because our school year starts mid-January. And then so I started 4.5. Halfway through the year, I turned 5. Finished and then went into year 1. But Queensland, if you're not the age of that year at the start of that year, then you, like you said, you've got to wait till the next year. Which is why when I moved from New South Wales to Queensland when I was in 5th grade, and then 5th grade. And then they, instead of putting me up, like academically, I would have been in grade 6 in Queensland, because Queensland doesn't have kindergarten. They start in year 1. And so they didn't put me up to grade 6. They kept me in grade 5, which was the equivalent of put me back a grade. And then when I moved from Queensland to Northern Territory doesn't have kindergarten, but they do have a kind of one, which is called transition. And it's kind of like a halfway point between regular schooling and daycare. But rather than put me up a grade in Northern Territory, they kept me in the same grade. So I still finished high school. So we do grade 1 through 12 here. I finished high school at 17.
Interesting.
I started uni at 17. Yeah. I started college or university at 17. So I went straight from high school to university.
It's funny. Something that's puzzled me. Like after when I was in high school, there was this talk that like in Asian countries they go to school year round. Like there's no summer break or anything like that. You just go to school all year. And I was like, while I was in school, I was like, man, that would suck, not have your summer vacation, And then immediately after I graduated, I thought, you know what, year-round school would actually be a really good idea. I mean, like, just for the whole, more time to learn more shit. I mean, like, but I like to learn new stuff. So, in that respect, and then I wondered, why is it that here in the States, at least, we have summer vacation? Like we don't go to school like June and July. I was like, it seems like it would make more sense to be off like December and January, when like the weather's really bad and it's the accidents, buses get into accidents driving on ice and stuff, and it would make more sense to have a winter break than a summer break. And I don't know why we wound up with a summer vacation instead of a winter vacation.
I can tell you.
Huh.
I can tell you why.
Okay.
Harvest.
Oh, that's a fair point. The kids used to be off for harvest season.
Mm-hmm.
So, and actually, that would have been a little bit later in the year, and it just kind of moved over to summer break since
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. But you see, you've also got you've got like that time of year, you've got all your prepping machinery and doing your pre-harvest work and all that type of thing. So yeah, but yeah, so we space out in Australia. We space out our holidays between each term. So depending on where you are in Australia, so most. Our longest break is generally in summer as well, but it's Christmas. So most schools generally finish around the 20th of December, ish, give or take, depending on the year. And then most of them will have about 6 weeks off. So the end of December, start of January, end of January, go back to school, or early February. And then there's generally 2 weeks between end of term 1, which is March, around Easter, and then there's another mid-year break, which is generally end of June, early July, and then another 2 weeks in September-ish. So it breaks up the terms, and then you get your long summer or Christmas break. That's how our school year works. Up here in the Northern Territory, we used to have it a little bit different. It used to be a Christmas break up here used to be only 2 weeks. But actually no, I think Christmas break up here still is 2 weeks. And then it used to be 1 week for Easter holidays and 1 week for term 3 holidays, and then we'd have 6 weeks or 7 weeks in the middle of the year, being it's dry season and people can go out, but it was also mustering and all that type of thing. But it was dry season, so it was the best time of year to get out and do holidays and stuff like that. So it was a little bit different to the rest of Australia. But they changed that, and now I think they get it's 2 weeks for first and third term break. It's now 4 weeks, so only a month for mid-year, and 2 weeks for the rest of them. So that's how we change our school system. But yeah, and I mean everywhere does their school system. I mean even comparing the school years, like you said, your school year starts in September, which is completely freaking alien for an Australian, because like I said, our school year starts in January, February. So we're looking at you guys going like, you guys literally start school and then you go on holiday. But no, you don't. Sorry, you don't. You start. And that's how our mind works. Christmas is in the summer, so you start school and then you're on holiday. But no, you actually go to school over Christmas. Well, maybe not the days itself, but the Christmas period. You guys don't really get time off. You guys are working at school.
So typically, so we'll start school. It's usually like the third week of August. When I was a kid, it was often it was usually after Labor Day. So the September 2nd is Labor Day, and it was when I was a kid. We always started the Monday after Labor Day. And then towards the end of my high school career, it had backed up to the third week of August. And that's still typically where it is now, is the third week of August. And then we'll go until probably the 20th of December, give or take, somewhere in there. It's usually, the last day of school for winter break is usually the Wednesday before Christmas the next week, whatever. I mean, like, not, if Christmas is like on Thursday, you're not going to get out on Wednesday before. It would be anyways. So typically, yeah, you get off 4 or 5 days before Christmas, and you don't come back until the next Monday after New Year's. And like Christmas and New Year's always fall on the same day of the week. So if Christmas is on a Wednesday, New Year's is Wednesday the next week, and so you wind up at the end of the day you wind up with about 2 weeks off, or 10 days to 14 days off for Christmas, depending on when you get out of school for Christmas break. And depending where in the week New Year's falls. So because if it falls on a Thursday, you're not going to go to school on the next Friday. You go to school the next Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But and I mean, and that's that. Like, there's people in the northern parts of the US that would get days off for snow days and stuff like that. There's no such thing in Australia.
Well, dude,
right? Basically,
you know what we got in Texas? Cold days. It doesn't.
You can get that.
It doesn't typically snow here. I mean, once in a while, yeah. like it snowed in 1983, enough for me to build a snowman. 1983. Okay, and I think again in '87 were the two snowstorms where we had enough snow to build a snowman. But typically it's just a light dusting, right? And there are years that it doesn't snow at all. This year the only snow we got was in the air. We didn't get any accumulation here. I did move a rig with some accumulation up in New Mexico a month or so ago. That was pretty neat, or 2 months ago. That was pretty neat. But here, when I was a kid, because it costs so much to heat the school, if it was below freezing, they would cancel school, because it doesn't get below freezing that often. And so they would cancel school if it was expected to be below freezing, so that they could keep the school at like 50 degrees, because that's 50 degrees is enough to keep everything from freezing, but it's also too cold to have a bunch of kids in there. That'd be kind of cruel. So they got to heat it up to like 65 or 70 if there's people going to be in there. And the amount of fuel that it takes to do that when it's below freezing was not cost effective. So yeah, when I was in junior high, whenever it was going to be below freezing, they would just give us a snow day, because we have 5 snow days built into the year. But we didn't ever get to use them because it didn't snow. So we used them for when it was cold.
We didn't even get that. Basically, during the school year, if it was a school day, unless you were sick and you got kept home by your parents, you went to school. There's no snow days. There's no cold days. There's no hot days. There were days like if you went to school and it was like over 30 degrees outside, you weren't the teachers would keep you in the classroom because it was air conditioned. But that's like, I never when schools there was a couple of days during the year which were called pupil free days, where basically the teacher would go in, it was the first day of the term or semester or whatnot, and the teachers would use it as getting prepared for work, and it wasn't actually a school day. But yeah, no, like, we don't have that type of thing in Australia at all.
Yeah. Well, okay,
there's no such thing as a snow day.
But it does snow in the south, right?
Parts of the south, yes, and of course, there's the Australian Alps, which get more snow than Switzerland.
Yeah, okay, because I remember as a kid watching The Man from Snowy River, and there was that was actually filmed in Australia, and there was a lot of freaking snow.
Yeah, and that's in the Australian Alps. That's the southern part of the Great Dividing Range.
Oh, okay.
And like, that's actually that region's where skiing was invented. And the oldest continuously running ski club in the world is located. But yeah, so the places in parts of Australia do get snow, right? And they do get feet of snow. But if school's on, kids go to school.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. You're going to school, boy.
So do they? So one of the reasons in the States, one of the reasons they really, really push for attendance. And I mean, like, and they're freaking anal about it. Like there are times like, you're sick, you better have a freaking doctor's note. Like even your parents saying, the kid's got a cold, it's whatever, and I got to take the kid to the doctor to get a doctor's note and spend $100. Otherwise, it's an unexcused absence, and if you get 3 or 5 of those in a year, you don't advance, right? And the reason that schools really push that attendance is because that attendance is what dictates their funding for the next year. They get so many dollars per day per kid in attendance. So for every kid that's not there, they lose that like $80. So I mean, I don't know what the actual number is, but let's say every school gets $80 in federal funding per day for every kid that's there, and for every kid that's out, they lose that $80. And so that's why the school really pushes for attendance and makes it, difficult to not show up, because they need that funding for the next year. Now, granted, now that money's gone. If all federal funding for schools is now gone. They dissolved the Department of Education, so now everybody's property taxes are going to have to make up the difference, and that's going to that's gonna just be a shit show for the next year while schools are trying to figure out how the fuck to operate with no money. But
so our schools are run by the state education departments. So there's no federal education department. State has its own education department. There is a certain amount of federal funding that gets allocated to education. But so schools are run and paid for by the state education department. As a result of that, it's not like if it's compulsory. All children under, I think it's the age of 16 must attend school. If they don't, their parents can be fined, and that's child protective services and stuff like that that get involved in all that type of thing. If there's a noticeable and too many absences from school, of course it goes to, it gets investigated by child protective services and whatnot, because there has to be a reason that child's not in school. Yep. It could be sickness or whatnot. But I mean that's also tied into the fact that Australia has a robust medical system, free public healthcare system. So going to the doctors and getting that medical certificate isn't much of a thing, but also it's all recorded. But
see you, Jack.
How schools generally run isn't so much on attendance as on enrollments. So a school that has a higher amount of enrollments for the year will generally have a higher amount of funding. But there's also a certain metric on that. So, for example, a rural school, so near where I grew up in Pine Creek, it had a maximum student count of like 80 across all the grades, and that was transition all the way through to grade 7 at the time. So, it had like 80, maybe 90 students in the whole school. So, it was per enrollment, but also because it was a rural school, there were certain allocations that were given because it was a rural school to keep them in line with the schools in the cities. The schools in the cities would have higher attendance, higher needs base, so they get more money, and so the rural schools, being smaller, would have a certain amount extra allocated, because understanding that, okay, they're rural schools, they need more resources and travel time and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I wanted to point out for the people that are still in the stream, we basically transitioned to the after show, and this is what me and Adam do on Sundays after Yamez checks out to go do his stuff. Is we just sit here and like basically compare our lives, the how is it in Australia versus how is it in the States and things like that, and we just banter back and forth about random ass shit, and sometimes it goes on for an hour, sometimes it goes on for 6, but basically we're just kind of broadcasting the after show. We've done this a time or two, but it's been a hot minute. I wanted to point out I got my nails done yesterday, and I had them shortened up. They were like maybe 2.5 centimeters long, and because the last time I got them redone, they didn't shorten them, because I like a certain length. And then so they had even grown. Yeah, so I had basically 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters of fingernail. I couldn't do shit. I mean, I couldn't grab anything. Everything I'm doing, hemostat. I got to grab everything with a hemostat, like putting my earrings in. Grab it with a hemostat, stick it in my ear, grab the earring back, put it on with the hemostat. It was so irritating. So I went in yesterday, and I had actually popped one off, or not popped, but it was tilting. It was still attached at the front, And so I was like, I can't handle this. So I glued it down and then went in yesterday to have them fix it. And I told her, I was like, you got to take half of that off because I cannot handle, I can't type. I can't type on my phone. I was like, I'm crippled by the length of my fingernails. and so, yeah, she shortened them up for me. And I was talking to some friends yesterday. They're like, oh, that's a really cool design. How'd you come up with that? And I'm like, I don't ever tell my nail tech what I want. I just walk in, I say, this is how long I want them, this is the shape I want, do whatever you want. I don't care, whatever color. And so my nail tech always comes up with the designs and the colors and all that, and I just let her be the artist and do whatever she wants. And yeah. So that was actually pretty fun. I got that done yesterday, and I'm gonna miss my nail tech so bad. If I ever have to like leave from here or move from here, I love her to death, and I don't think it's going to be feasible to drive all the way back to Odessa every time to get my nails done. I'll have to pack her in my suitcase and take her with me, I guess. she's a small Vietnamese woman. She'll be fine.
That's right. I'm sure if you have to go there, there'll probably be Filipinos or something like that. They'll be able to do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, they won't sound the same. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. Her name is Alexis as well, and she like when she became an American, because when you become an American citizen, you have the option to change your name if you want. It's without any process. You just when you sign the paperwork and take the pledge, all that, you fill out what name you want. And well, she picked Alexis, and but she goes by Alex, and which is weird, and she almost has no accent. Like she's she grew up in Vietnam, came to the States, whatever. But but her accent is almost non-existent. She sounds completely American, except when she gets on the phone and is speaking Vietnamese to her husband or whatever, But
yeah. Sorry, I just saw Rob Tide in the chat. He just went out and dragged his giant tractor tire around behind the truck to plough the snow. And I actually have a couple of dump truck tires here that I do. I've got to set up to do the same thing on my driveway. But I only got the tires end of the year, so I got to drill some anchors into them and hook a chain up so I can drag it along with the tractor.
That reminds me of back in the 80s, one of those times where it snowed and like we had snow on the roads and everything. The most redneck shit ever. We had an extra hood to my dad's pickup because it was a square body Chevy, and they would bend and crack right where the springs are. And my dad had gotten a new hood and put it on there. And if you keep your hood springs lubricated well, it won't do that. But for those square bodies, they were bad about the hoods breaking. And so we had this extra one laying around, and my dad got the bright idea to tie it to tie that hood, lay it down on the ground upside down, tie it to the bumper, and like literally all the neighborhood kids, we're all sitting on this thing, and my dad's just driving around the neighborhood on the city streets, pulling us around. We're like skidding sideways around the corners. It was the most fun ever. And I mean, like they would rake somebody over the coals for doing that shit today, No, it's
not here. You can do it out here. It's called a bush sled.
Now I will say that years later, after I got back from the military, my parents had moved away. My dad left that pickup there. Well, actually, he sold it to a friend of mine, and that friend of mine was unable to pay for it, so he brought it back to my parents' property here in Texas. They didn't even live in Texas anymore. And so like I, got it back running and all that. And same thing, we got that buddy and me and my brother and a couple of, we're all out in the backyard in the back pasture, got that hood strapped to the back of the pickup, and we're just doing donuts around, and I'm driving, and it's a 3-speed granny gear type thing, and I'm just doing donuts in the backyard, pulling that hood around, and then I see my brother go flying off of the hood and just like barrel roll across the back pasture, and I'm like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be going this fast. God, it's amazing he didn't break an arm or a leg or something, or worse. It's just, at a certain age, you're just like, you're invincible, and there's nothing can go wrong, you know. I'm amazed I lived through my childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. I same thing I did. On bush blocks out. When I was growing up, we didn't do it on the city streets, but bush blocks. Same as riding on the back of the truck. Like me growing up. We'd go to the local pub, local bar, because it had a restaurant and type of thing attached, and we'd go there once a month. And being out bush, the dad would jump in the flatbed truck with my stepmum, and us kids we'd jump on the back of the tray and hold on, and flying down the dirt road at 80 kilometres an hour, hanging on the dirt road. Dad hitting the corners, going sideways in the truck, and flatbed truck, and we're holding on to the back. That was how we got around as kids. And I know there's still people out there that would do that now. It's I wouldn't say it's the Wild West, but the coppers generally didn't go out, and that's just the way people got around. It wasn't.
Yeah. I had I remember one time it was kind of cold out, and I rode a skateboard to school for a little while. In I guess my freshman and sophomore years, I was attempting to be a skater, and so I convinced my mom to give me a ride to school on my skateboard. So I'm on the skateboard holding on to the passenger side door handle of the Suburban, and she just drugged me all the way to school like 30 miles an hour on my skateboard. I'm just holding on to the door handle, and then we got to the corner where she had to turn, and I just let go, and she turned, and I just went on the rest of the way, which was just like a half a block. But yeah, I mean like that was perfectly acceptable, and I can't even believe my mom agreed to do that. Like she's just like, yeah, grab onto the handle, hold on. Like if I could have totally zigged or something like that and gone right under the rear wheel, I mean, that easy and that fast.
Well, I mean, at 12 years old, right? My best friend at the time, he lived about 30 kilometres, so about 15 miles away, right? Now, again, bear in mind, this is a rural area. All dirt roads and all that type of thing, like proper remote area. And on a Wednesday, if I finished my schoolwork early, say I finished my schoolwork at 2:00 in the afternoon, because I was homeschooled, we were school year, so homeschooled at that stage. Now, just to clarify for those people listening, here in Australia's homeschooling or school of the air, we've got two different types. So there's the homeschooling that you guys have in the US, which is parent-led, parent builds the curriculum, and basically the parent teaches what the parent wants to teach. And it's synonymous generally with a very strict religious education. Here in Australia, homeschooling takes two forms. So we either have that type of homeschooling, which is very similar to the US, but it's also much more secular. In order to get away with it, you do have to do a minimum standard as per the education department, and children are tested. So there's a standardized test in 3rd grade and 6th grade. And then there's a second type of schooling, homeschooling, which is actually structured through a recognized distant education provider. So we have around Australia, we have what's called schools of the air, which is generally you get posted out from an actual school with actual teachers. You get posted out classwork, and they're on booklet form, and you get study materials and all that type of thing. And then generally once or twice a week, you'll have an actual 1 hour radio lesson. It used to be held via shortwave radio. So, like your CB radio that you have in trucks and stuff like that.
Sure.
You would actually have an hour's class over the radio. That's the reason why it was called School of the Air. They've changed it now. Now it's a lot more high tech. They'll actually have like Zoom meetings. They'll have it's an online classroom, like a Zoom meeting. And they've been doing that since the early 2000s. So now it's done. It's interactive distance learning, IDL, and they'll have like a Zoom meeting, and they'll have a whole classroom. So it can be like 15 or 20 kids and the teacher doing interactive classwork. That could be 2 or 3 times a week, or it might be even an hour a day now. But yeah, so that's what we generally call School of the Air. So I'm quote unquote homeschooled, but for my high school, I went through. So it wasn't a School of the Air for high school. School of the Air is for primary school. I went to my high schooling was also structured like the School of the Air, and it was through Northern Territory Distance Learning, NTDL. And so it was basically the same thing for high school, and we didn't exactly have radio or internet classrooms. Twice a year we would actually go in and spend a week in town and do regular high school classes, and then the rest of the time we were up to our own devices. So I could complete a week's worth of schoolwork in 2 days if I did 12-hour days. So that's the reason why I was saying, because this ties into the story of why, like on a Wednesday, for example, 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, I'd finish my schoolwork for the week. I'd jump on my motorbike, ride 15 miles or 30 k's to go visit my best mate, pick him up on the motorbike, or get him to get on his own motorbike, and we'd fuck off for 4 days camping. And my parents didn't even know where I was half the time. Like, you hear people growing up in towns where it's like, my parents didn't know where I was during the day, and I would have to be home by the time the street lights came on. My parents would go half a week without knowing where I was. If I didn't come home the next Monday, that's when they'd send out the search party. But, Wednesday afternoon, I'd go off to my mate's place, and they'd get a call saying, yeah, Adam showed up here, and then the boys have gone. They've gone camping. Where they gone camping? Fuck if I know, that's it. They were gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that was my bad, Rob. I slid over into the YouTube stream to add the comment about there not being rabies in Australia, and then because Discord isn't at the front of the display, it takes it out of the stream. So Discord has to be in front, and if I go to click on something else that's not Discord, it moves it to the back, and then I lose the I don't know why that is. Yamez is the same way. He can't click off of it on the active screen. It's just a thing. So yeah, so when I went to go add the comment about the rabies thing, Adam disappeared for a minute there, and yeah, that's just growing pains. I don't stream very often, so and then
what's this? Yeah, I know. What's this about rabies? I know there's no rabies in Australia.
Oh no, Ben had said something about a rabid roo, just making a joke, whatever, and I was like, there's no rabies in the Down Under.
No, there's not. No. Yeah, no, and that's true. There is no rabies in Australia. Rabies do not exist in Australia.
That is interesting because I mean that's a testament to the efforts of like the border people there. I mean, like the biological restrictions that like. It's badass. I mean, like it's like you are not bringing shit into this country. I mean, like there's even such a high restriction on pets. The type of dogs you can bring, the types of dogs you can't bring, and they have to be quarantined for like a month. I mean, like it's freaking crazy because they're like we ain't letting shit in. And because of that, I mean, that's why there's no rabies. I mean, like, because you could have a dog that has rabies and not be symptomatic for like 2 weeks, or even a cat, because it takes 2 weeks to be symptomatic. And so you could totally, if there wasn't that super long quarantine that they impose, you could totally bring in parvo or rabies or something like that.
We do have parvo in Australia. Parvo is a thing.
Yeah.
But no rabies. Same as I think is it Lyme disease? Mm-hmm. There's another tick-borne disease tick and flea-borne
that's
disease
Lyme
that
disease.
we have in the US.
Yeah, it's Lyme disease.
Yeah, we don't have that here in Australia either. All right, and that's again part of the biosecurity, and it's the reason why Johnny Depp and fucking what's it, Miss Shit in the Bed,
Amber Heard.
Name?
Amber Heard.
That's it. Amber Turd, that's right. The reason why they got so much trouble when they came to Australia to film Pirates is because they brought their dogs illegally, and they got, put it this way, they were lucky their dogs weren't shot and put down immediately. Because like that's how serious it was, and that's how seriously we take biosecurity. Because Australia doesn't have rabies, and we don't have diseases like that here in Australia.
Dude, you know what's going on right here, right now in Texas? A fucking measles outbreak. Measles. I mean, like that shit was almost eradicated.
Well. It's happening in Melbourne as well.
It's like these fucking idiots that are like, I'm not going to get my kid vaccinated. Because why? Because vaccines this, vaccines that. Yeah, measles will fucking kill your kid. Why is that better?
But
yeah. I'm anti.
That's a different conversation.
I am anti-vaxxer.
Their own views on that.
I am anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. We'll leave that one because that one's a contentious topic, and like I will bag out flat earthers every day of the week because flat earthers are flat earthers. But whilst I am, I'm 100% for vaccinations. I can at least understand the argument for not having as many vaccinations as many people have nowadays. I do believe in the MMR vaccine and all that type of thing, the measles vaccine and polio and all that type of shit. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I at least understand some of the reasoning for certain people not taking certain vaccinations. I can understand that. And that's the reason why, personally, I kind of try and avoid vaccination conversations because I also know the science. And it's one of those ones that is a lot of grey area, and a lot of people will be very passionate about it without maybe not understanding the full science. And then there's people like flat earthers that just completely don't know what they're talking about.
I mean,
so it's easier just to go,
I have to admit I am biased because I understand the science, I understand how it all works, but also I'm also vaccinated against every fucking thing that exists on Earth. Just because that's the way the military treated us. I mean, like you get everything all over again because we don't know if you actually had this as a kid or not. So all of the vaccines that you have, as a child, as an infant, as the prerequisites to going to school. When you join the military, they give you all that shit all over again just to make sure. And then let's throw anthrax on top of that before we go play in the sandbox. Of course, I'm current on every vaccine there is, and I don't ever get sick. I mean, once a year, I'll get a sinus infection, where I'm a little stuffed up and have a runny nose at the same time. That's it. I get one sinus infection a year, and that's all I get. I've never gotten the flu since 1992. That was the last time I got the flu, and I didn't get the flu shot until I went in the military. I don't know if it was a thing when I was in high school or not, but it was when I was in the Air Force, and it was mandatory. Like you didn't get to choose. You had to have it, and that's one of those things in the military. I mean, you don't really get to choose. Things like that. You don't get to opt out. It's like everybody gets it, or we'll just kick you the fuck out. You can refuse this vaccine, but it'll cost you your job. And so I mean, nobody back then, nobody gave a shit, and everybody just took the vaccine. There was no such thing as an anti-vaccine movement or anything like that. And even anthrax, the general public was all in an uproar about the experimental anthrax vaccine. Oh, we shouldn't be subjecting our soldiers to an experimental vaccine, this, that, and the other. And us in the military, we were like, fuck no, give me the vaccine, because if I get hit with anthrax over there, I will fucking die. And I would rather have the vaccine and whatever side effects there are than actually get anthrax. And anthrax is literally just hoof and mouth disease in sheep. It's carried by sheep, and that's why you don't graze sheep and cattle in the same pasture, because sheep are carriers of anthrax, and if they poop on the same grass that cattle eat, cattle will develop anthrax, and it's called hoof and mouth disease, it rots it winds up killing the cow, and that's why ranchers don't mix pastures for sheep and cattle. Or typically the way it is, most ranchers don't raise both animals. They have one or the other. And there's like when you rotate pastures or whatever, if you have a pasture that had sheep on it, it doesn't you wait a full year before you put cattle on it. So interesting shit. But yeah, I'm vaccinated against everything and I don't get sick, and maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's also because I don't touch people.
That's true. Rub Anthrax was a great band. Well, I've got to call it because my has been screaming at me.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to jump off.
All right then. With that, we will call it a show and catch you guys in 2 weeks. And I don't know, whatever. Fuck. I mean, fuck. We went pretty long. 3 hours.
Yeah, we've gone really long. Yep.
Alrighty then, let me figure out how to end the stream. End stream right here. Bye, y'all.
Bye.